What is up, everybody? I'm Tanner, and this is episode number 2 of the Broccoli and Breakdowns podcast. Today we've got the man, the king, one of the nicest guys I know, Edward Hinson. A lot was covered, from learning guitar with 12-year-olds when he was 22, being in Kiss the Curse, recording with James Wisner, and playing shows with Born of Osiris, Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, Puddle of Mud, and Suicide Silence. You can find him on Facebook, YouTube, and probably at some local shows. And you are currently listening to his song, Radiant. Of course, you can listen to all episodes of the Broccoli and Breakdowns podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and all other major streaming services. Thanks for tuning in.
Podcast I'm currently on.
The podcast is called Broccoli and Breakdowns.
Is that in reference to your great passions in life that are fitness and music and heavy music?
Hey, you know, it is what it is what it is.
Okay,
Broccoli
buddy.
and Breakdowns. It's Broccoli and Breakdowns. That's all you need to know.
Now I know.
Broccoli and Breakdowns. There's this. I have a logo. I made it myself.
I'm sorry. That's like a shitty thing to laugh at.
No, it is not.
Oh, boy.
Oh, this is a call out for anyone listening. If you do make logos, hit me up so you can make me a logo.
Ask Patty's wife.
That's what I was going to say. Andy.
Andy knows her stuff.
That's who did Aragon's.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me pull this up so I can get your initial reaction. Because we're on all major streaming services.
Okay.
Already, actually.
Oh.
This one won't come out for like 2 weeks, probably.
Okay.
So.
But it's like up. You've got it set up.
Everything is set up.
I'm so impressed.
Do you use Stitcher?
No, I never have. I hear people talk about it all the time. But you're on there.
I don't know what Stitcher.
Yeah, I
don't know what
I've heard
it
every
is.
podcast person say, "Oh, we're also on Stitcher." I'm like, "Good for you." I don't know.
We're on. I'm thinking I'm gonna do like YouTube clips. I don't know. I might do the whole thing, but then I think I'll split it up into stories, like specific stories.
Sure. Go full Joe Rogan on the podcast.
Yeah, that or okay, Joe Rogan. The big ones that got me to do this were Joe Rogan, Tom Segura, and the Your Mom's House podcast. It's Tom Segura, and then Bert Kreischer.
Okay, I know who Bert Kreischer is.
Yeah,
sure.
Those 3 were the ones that got it.
Okay,
but we're not going to listen to the whole thing. But I just want you to hear the guitar work.
Did you record this?
Yeah.
Oh,
this
boy.
is all me, bro. This is something I want to get into with you. Let's see. And that's the picture.
Yo, what's up, everybody? This is the Broccoli and Breakdowns podcast, and I'm Tanner. One of my favorite parts of going
That's
to
professional,
shows,
right?
Oh, the little ducking?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
is getting the chance to
That
talk
was
great.
it took me a few tries to get this right.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all you, bro.
I'm glad you learned something.
I want to talk about this.
Okay.
You are the reason I got into all of this.
I'm glad to hear it.
Like,
I'm glad to hear it. That's great.
hey, no, but recording with you, I think I said it right at the end. I was like, oh, this is like, I don't know if it was when we were recording or if it was after, and maybe it might have been months after, I don't know. But
At some point.
Yeah, at some point. At some point I was like, yeah, we're good. I was like, oh, I want to learn how to do that somewhat. Because I know I came over one time, learned a little bit when you were recording with Fear the Indifference.
Right.
That was sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, all this.
I'm glad.
The whole podcast idea started with you.
I'm so glad. I'm proud of that. Wow, I've done one good thing for the world. To start the Broccoli and Breakdowns podcast. It's cause I planted the seed.
Planted it. You made this happen.
I'm so glad.
This is all your fault. All your fault.
The world now has to deal with the Broccoli and Breakdowns podcast because of me.
All the shenanigans.
Jeez.
So how you been?
I've been well. Just working and writing music and living life, and yeah, I've been well, hanging in. I know you've joined a new band. I've recently learned that. I know Turner's in a new band. Yeah, I don't know. What do you want to know?
I'm glad that you brought up that you were writing music.
Yes.
Because I saw a picture.
Oh, yeah.
I think I saw a picture on Facebook.
So what's funny is about that, I took a picture of something. I can't remember which one I ended up posting, but I tagged Wade and Jeremy and Patty in it because they were all there at different times. Like Patty was like playing something with me, and Wade stopped by and Jeremy stopped by and let me borrow a pedal for a while. And I tagged them all in it, and it was like, and like the caption was just to start rumors, because I was like, because I thought this would be funny. But like, there's not like a band or anything. Wade's in like 9 bands. I don't think he is anymore. I think he's in like 1. But he was at some point in like 9 bands, it seemed like. And Jeremy's going full tilt now with Attracting the Fall. Mm-hmm. And after my old band stole him from Attracting the Fall in the first place.
Is that what I wasn't here.
Yeah, you weren't here yet, but he was in Attracting the Fall, and we needed a bass player. And he had actually been like, he had thought about trying out. That's the second bass player we actually stole from Attracting the Fall. We took 2 bass players from Attracting the Fall.
They must hate you.
Well, I think we're fine now, but for a while there, I was like, I don't know if they're going to be very happy with us. But yeah, we eventually stole Jeremy from Attracting the Fall, but he's back with them, and they're about to come out with an album, so that's exciting.
Yeah, I know. Are they doing a full album or EP?
I'm not sure, honestly.
I thought it was an EP.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember last time I talked to him was a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm super excited to hear that.
Yeah, Wade helped produce that one, and
yeah, there was.
He did a lot of the post-production.
There was
work.
some weird shit happening.
That was incredibly complex. I still don't know all the details, but they had like recorded a whole album in terms of just like capturing audio, and it was a disaster. And then they, I don't know how that happened. They ended up going to Blackplate and
fell apart or something. Like,
I don't know what happened with the guy that recorded it. I don't know the details.
I'm not sure.
You can have one of the guys. You can have Jeremy. He'll come here and he'll talk about it. I'm sure.
That's one of the bands I want to like bring, if anyone's listening.
Yeah.
And you're in a band in the Raleigh area, hit me up.
Yeah.
Because I want to bring if you play music, I want to bring you on.
You should get Reason to Find in here, man. That'll be an experience.
I totally do.
That would be a lot of fun. If you can wrangle, if you can get them off, if you can get them when they're not busy, because they're running all.
Have you heard? Oh, you recorded it. Right?
I recorded the album. I have heard their music.
I just heard like their latest.
Is it the slow
piano?
one, the piano one? Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's
beautiful.
The drummer played that, and she's like,
the piano.
Yeah, the drummer plays the piano on that one. And I think she turned 18 right before we started recording the album, and she's like a freakish. Like,
how old are they as a band? Like,
I think the oldest one is like 25.
Okay,
and then
I would have guessed 25.
And then Sid is just turned 18, and she's like this drum prodigy who also plays piano.
Her feet.
Oh, they're insane.
Oh,
her feet are ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's they have a stupid heavy by their standards, a stupid heavy song on the album that I think they've played live a couple of times now.
Did they play it?
They did play it at Clayton Beverage. Yeah. That's actually, Gabe was posting about how I like elbowed him in the chest in the pit during that song, and like that whole song for her is just like full speed over the top.
That was the one where she was playing and I couldn't see because I'm short as shit.
Yeah.
So I'm like on my tippy toes trying to catch a glimpse of her feet just because I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And we recorded the drums for the album in like record time. It was just
full album, right?
Yeah.
Full.
And they did 10 songs, and there's an intro, and they would make great guests. I think they would be incredibly entertaining. And they'll have a lot of stories because they're about to go do this whole tour.
I'll have to. When do you know when it starts?
Off the top of my head, I don't. Soon, I think.
I think it's pretty soon.
Yeah, and then they're doing like their release show at the end. So.
Yeah, I definitely want to hit that.
But it's that'll be a great media opportunity for them and a great opportunity for you because they have a real following. Like not all local bands really have fans.
Yeah,
they have like legit fans, like people who are like into their band. Like it's they'd make a great interview.
They have a great look too.
Oh yeah, they've got it nailed down.
Yeah,
they know what they're doing. Absolutely.
Besides good music.
Yeah. No, they know what they're doing. And I'm glad you got Russell on because no one. Russell, I'm surprised the guy doesn't have his own podcast. Honestly,
I was talking. When we first started talking, we were talking about he helps out on or was, I don't know if he still is. Michael Stevenson's.
Yeah, sure.
Is it front row.
Front row, yeah. Maniacal music.
He said he does like more behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think his wife is like on it. She's Savage. She's Savage Hannah, and she's incredibly funny. But I'm surprised he's not like on something already because he's just so good at it.
Oh no, he definitely could do his I can't do a solo podcast.
Right.
I don't know if I could entertain myself that long. Like that's the thing.
Sure.
They'd be like 30-minute podcasts.
Yeah.
But they couldn't be very long. I think he could just.
Oh, he could talk for 2 hours.
He could just talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I just sat back. I just sat back and let him talk.
I believe you. I believe you. Get 2 beers in him outside of any venue. The night's over. It's good luck. Love you, Russell, but it's over. Like I'll just keep going. And he's got a billion stories, and he's been in a million bands, and no, he's done it all, for sure.
So let's talk about your music.
My music is.
Let's roll it back a little. Let's start with the start.
With like my start in music or like Kiss the Curse.
How'd you get into it? I don't know if we ever
I moved to. Oh, it's a complicated. You want a long story? That's a long. You won't have to talk at all. So I moved to North Carolina with my parents when I was 22, and had kind of a disastrous.
Sorry.
22
moved to North Carolina.
Huh?
Moved to North Carolina at 22.
Yes. Yeah. And I had something of a disastrous like childhood / youth, and I didn't have my driver's license. I never had a job that was on the books. I'd worked for like contractors and stuff, completely under the table. So I had like no work history outside of this like really sketchy web startup I'd been a part of. It was really complicated.
Was it Pornhub?
I wish it was Pornhub. I would have made some money on Pornhub. No, it was. I'm not going to say the name of the site. Because I think it still exists, but it was like selling cash advances to small businesses to avoid usury laws. it was like, this is the worst idea, and we like. And I did a lot of like the day-to-day work there, but it was just incredibly stressful. And I was like living in this like basement, which was our office in New Jersey, and had no money. And my family was out in San Francisco at that point because of my dad's job. And I was like, at one point, the other guy involved with me, this is when I was like 21, started lying to customers. And of course we have all like their social security number and their credit card info. And I was like, you cannot keep lying to customers. Like, I'm hearing you say things that are untrue to people on the phone. And I was like, nope, bye. Yeah. So I was one of 3 people involved with that. And I'm not going to get into that whole thing, but that was a disaster. There
were 2.
Yeah, and then there were 2, and the other guy involved was a very, very good friend of mine, Jeff, who was still in school at Princeton at the time. And the guy who started the whole thing met Jeff when they were in Princeton together, and then that guy dropped out, got married so he could stay in the country because he's from Mauritius. And I said, I'm not making it Mauritius. It's an island off the coast of Africa. And it's really interesting because they recently like liberalized their economy and it's doing very well. And but he was this big deal when he got into Princeton from Mauritius.
Oh, just because
of like
because
you were like, where is Mauritius?
Where is this place?
But anyway, so he had come to the States and started at Princeton, dropped out, brilliant guy, I don't know, I haven't talked to him in years, had some problems with the truth, like ever saying the truth. And so I ended up leaving that, and so I ended up in North Carolina. I had like no real work experience, and I was like living with my parents, and didn't really know what I was doing with myself, and kind of looked at like all of the stuff I'd ever been interested in and not been able to do, and was like, I really like music. I guess I'm gonna figure that out. And so I got a job at the mall. The job at the Gap. I still have the voicemail from when they hired me. No, seriously, it was probably one of the biggest moments in my life.
Okay.
So I got a job at the Gap, and I still work for Gap Inc. And I don't work for the Gap anymore, but I still work for the company.
Mm-hmm.
And
You don't work for...
I work at Old Navy now.
Oh, okay.
I know that guy. We have a special guest.
We have a special guest, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Turner Thomas. It's in that
Hello
house.
from behind the couch.
But yeah, and I started like teaching myself music theory off the internet. And my friend, that same guy Jeff, he had been a DJ'd weekends at Princeton to make money, just like to have spending money. And
That's pretty.
oh yeah, no, he's brilliant and multi-talented. He played bassoon in high school. He walked on to Princeton's volleyball team. Yeah, he can like dunk a basketball with two hands. He's like 2 inches taller than I am, and from a standstill can go up and jump. Like he's like the most freakishly talented person. His parents, he's of Chinese descent. He was the one child of the one child policy.
Yeah.
He's born in China and then moved to the States. And he is like he says
Good swimmer. Right
he says
there.
fuck all of your stereotypes. Like that guy has no time for them. Anyway, he's an awesome dude. But he had put FL Studio, a bootleg version, on my old laptop that I could like barely support. And I started.
Nice little torrent.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I mean, it barely worked. And I started just like writing music. The same week I got hired. I got hired for Holiday at Gap. I started writing music on my laptop. And I didn't know, the problem is that I didn't know anything about music.
Just what you could hear.
Yeah, so it was entirely by ear, but I had never really been, I'd been like a listener, but only gotten really into like my like having favorite bands and everything maybe like a year or two before that. And I'd started listening to like, I was like crazy into Linkin Park, and Chester Bennington's side project, Dead by Sunrise, had released an album while I was in San Francisco the year before. And
were you playing guitar at this point?
no,
Okay.
I owned an acoustic that I'd never really learned to play, and I'd never practiced. I'd never really done anything musical outside of like being in the choirs I had to be in for middle school, you know. And so I was really starting from ground zero and started teaching myself theory off the internet, and like learning the circle of fifths and how to harmonize a major scale and a minor scale, and started like analyzing songs pretty early on to try to figure out like how long song sections were, and like reading about how people write music. I really just didn't know anything. I didn't know that there was like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. I didn't know that was a thing. And now it's like my whole life. Well, yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, when you're new to it, it's like
22,
now
fresh off the boat, trying to figure this shit out.
And now it's like my whole life revolves around that stuff. And so I ended up, I'm trying to think. I eventually purchased the real version of FL Studio, and I had all of these sessions that were called like learning, like sessions, meaning like the names of the files were like learning drum and bass, and then like a BPM, or like learning rock music, and then like just like to try to like figure out like what is like a rock song. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but I had to do all of this, and I would like create these. I'd watch these tutorials on YouTube on how to make something in FL Studio. And most of the tutorials I was watching were just about FL Studio, because I like had so much trouble just using the damn program that like worrying about writing music was almost secondary, because like I can have all the ideas I want, it doesn't matter because I can't get anything to work. And I didn't understand compression, I didn't understand EQ. I like didn't even try to figure them out. A lot of the tutorials I saw out there.
These tutorials.
Oh geez, a lot of.
I'm winging it.
Well, what's funny is like, I didn't really figure that out for like years. I had moved on completely from FL Studio by the time I really got a handle on it. and like eventually I actually found a guy to teach me, like formally teach me theory. He's actually a local voice coach who eventually left to go get his master's in something, to like Oregon or something like that. And he taught me theory, and he helped me, like, I would have an idea in my head, but I'd never really sang before. So he had to he was a voice coach, obviously. So he'd help me learn to be like, oh, I have this idea, and hum it to myself and be pitch accurate, which like sounds easy, except for when you've never done it before, it's incredibly hard. And like,
let's real quick.
Yeah.
Remember, you tried to teach me.
Yeah, I remember. I knew you would appreciate that. Because like that's hard.
Terrible.
It's hard, and it's like terrifying. It takes a lot of practice, and like, now that's something I do all the time. It's like I have this idea, and I'll hum it, and like watch what the tuner on my phone does, and then like play it on a keyboard. No problem. I like did that yesterday, and but at the time it was just incredibly, I had no foundation. So I basically got a foundation from that guy, and I was really doing. His name's Chris Bovary. If he ever hears this, he's a great dude, and he put up with a lot. Sure.
Send in the podcast.
Put up with a lot of BS from me, and he convinced me to sing at a recital once. It was me and a bunch of like 12-year-olds. It was really funny, and who were all like really really good and like going to art schools, and I was like,
and you just sang loud.
I was real loud.
Fuck 'em.
Yeah.
This show's about me.
And yeah, so he eventually left, and I started. Oh, and at some point in there, I got a guitar. I got an electric in there somewhere. I ordered an Epiphone, like one of those like combo packs where you get like the guitar and an amp, a practice amp, and a cable, and they like include and you get a cable and a pick and a strap, and like listing all of it. And for like $155 or something.
I think that guitar was. I got that guitar.
Yeah.
Small little amp.
Mm-hmm.
And a cable for like $50.
Yeah, exactly. And I was so proud of that thing, predominantly because it was like, yeah, it's a real guitar, and it wasn't. It's like a piece of plywood with some pickups in it, and like, I didn't know anything about truss rods, so I immediately like put it into drop C sharp because that's what Linkin Park played in. The issue is that it was set up for E, so the truss rod was like, it was like the neck was bending, was arching in the wrong direction. It was a disaster.
Truss rod.
It's the metal rod up the middle of the neck to keep the neck straight, and or to make sure that the strings aren't making contact with the frets or the fretboard. And like,
did you just have it? Because would you have drop C sharp?
Yeah.
So then it'll, like, if it's so loose, it'll start to bend it.
So like the truss rod's pulling away from the string, so if the string tension isn't high enough, it actually pulls the strings down onto the fretboard.
Okay.
And so I had to then like figure out how to do that, and I didn't know what intonation was. So I have a lot of.
I just heard that word not too long ago. And
yeah.
Figured out what it was.
And now my whole life revolves around keeping guitars intonated, and but I didn't know what intonation was, and I didn't for like years. I have like 3 years of the guitar is in tune when open, but the individual string, like this guitar isn't intonated.
Yeah.
I have like 3 years of recordings where nothing's intonated properly. And like, I knew it didn't sound right, but I didn't know why. I'm like, the guitar's in tune. Fuck it.
It's in tune. What is wrong? It's the guitar's fault.
Yeah, obviously. And I eventually got a bass. And God, I think I eventually bought FL Studio. And then I eventually started taking guitar lessons from a guy named Leitis Cheong. And that is the best name in music. He should be famous. Leitis, I think it's spelled Leites, Leitis Cheong. And he's like half Cuban.
Okay.
I don't know.
I was not expecting that.
I don't know. I don't know. He's fluent Spanish speaker, half Cuban. And grew up in Miami, I think.
Okay.
And is just like I just happened to stumble into this like brilliant guitar teacher. Another time where it's like me and a bunch of 12-year-olds, because all of his other students were like, or most of his other students were kids, and everyone else who took lessons, the place I took lessons, were like small children. And
because you were just taking like beginner lessons at this point, yeah.
And I had learned theory, and then was trying to turn theory into like rock music, but like in my very like, nothing was by feel with me. Everything was like very structured.
Yeah.
And so I would even often program out the parts with MIDI before ever figuring out how to play them. And like I would write out the scale and then like harmonize it. Like I'd be like, okay, C, C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, right? And then I'd like write out the thirds underneath each note and the fifths and like what the chord was, what the triad was above it to like,
You
and
got
then
real deep.
oh yeah, and I learned all of that as I was learning how to use FL Studio and before I owned an electric. And then like as I got my electric, I was able to like go in and record the guitar parts that I had written using a MIDI guitar sound in FL Studio. And
I'm sure that, but like doing that first has to completely change the way like you're learning and like
absolutely
your progression.
Absolutely. And I think I have a weird way of looking at music, I think. And like, especially when I was in a band with Wade Harris, right? Like that guy was like playing jazz and didn't know a ton of theory when he was like in high school, but he was playing jazz and has a great ear and had taught himself a lot of things by ear. So we like, a lot of the reason that we like, I think worked well together is because we came at stuff from completely different directions. And like, that's kind of the way I am. I'm very structured. I do everything to like, as everything's on a calendar on my phone and everything's to a timer and like, it's just the way I am. Yeah.
I just like, something pops in my, I mean, you've been around.
I know.
You've been,
I know.
Fucking problem.
Yeah.
ADHD. 100%. Undiagnosed, but totally.
But totally. Like, absolutely.
I got through school, but.
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't work for everybody, but it's worked for me. And like, so at some point, I got another guitar. So at this point, I owned an acoustic from when I was in like 5th grade that I never played, my beginner guitar, a bass, and I got the Torero, that red Torero that I've played for years now. And, started taking classes part-time online with Berklee College of Music just to like learn how to do anything and move over into Pro Tools. And so I got all like the student discounts on stuff. That was great. And I still had no idea what I was doing in anything. And I was still using my first like MBox Pro interface. And those old like, God, I think the first monitors I'd ever used.
Oh, dude. There's no monitors.
Yeah, I know. And then for years I was on headphones.
Yeah.
And like my initial setup, the best part was at my parents' house, like way back when I first started making music on my laptop. It was really like the MBox Pro plugged into my laptop on like a nightstand in front of my couch at like the top of the stairs at my parents' house, and I was on like legitimately just like earbuds, like whatever earbuds I could find. Like I didn't have any actual like can headphones, and it was a disaster. Yeah.
Do what you gotta do.
Oh yeah,
bro.
but I would like burn my songs onto CDs and play them in my car because my car didn't have an MP3 or an aux player, so I had to burn a CD with my shitty music on it, and it would be like all of these like songs off of whatever I bought on iTunes, because we used to buy music on iTunes, and then like at the end there'd be like 2 of my shitty demos, and people would be in the car with me and be like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing," and like change the next song.
Dude, this band's really fucking good, isn't it?
And they're like, "God, this is terrible." Like, yeah, no,
Hey,
no.
They're demos.
Yeah, they're demos. Leave me alone.
It's a work in progress, bro.
But yeah, I was still working in retail that whole time. Made a lot of mistakes with girls during that period. Repeated mistakes with girls. If her last name is literally Sinning, don't do it.
Sinning?
Sinning. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Okay.
Don't do it. Like
Sinning.
it tells you in the name. Don't do it.
Wrong.
Don't
Bad.
do it.
No touch.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So that was an experience. Not going to go into that. And apparently it's like German or something. I don't know. But
yeah, sure.
But sure. Yeah. Definitely not a stage name. But no, took guitar lessons, started stuff with Berklee, and then they started offering. They went from being like you can take some classes online for credit to being like we're going to start offering like degrees. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many classes I'd taken at that point, but I was like, whatever. I've already decided I'm going all in on this. Like, why not apply and see what happens? I had a SoundCloud with some of my stuff up. I had attempted to start a band with some of my friends that had never played a show or even really practiced. We had like written some stuff together, but had never really done anything.
Do you know any of these friends?
No.
Okay.
And they're all like all over the place now. And they all were all at Western at the time, most of them. So like Western Carolina. And yeah, I guess I was taking classes like full time with Berkeley for a minute, and had keys at work for a while there too, and was like, God, I really don't want to do this retail thing for the rest of my life. This music thing had better work out. And then I was like, I really need to find a band. Like, I had never played guitar in front of people, and I was like in my mid-20s and decided I decided I was going to be a professional musician. I should probably play guitar in front of someone at some point. And like most
you
of
don't
my
have to now.
That's true.
You don't have to if
That's
you don't
true.
wanna.
That's completely an option. And but I felt like, but I had no experience like in a music scene. I'd done all of this in isolation.
Yeah.
I'd never been to a venue before, like a local music venue, and seen a show. And I was like looking for a vocalist to work with and poking around Craigslist trying to find a band. And I just like went through this phase, and like my girlfriend at the time witnessed me like freaking out about all this stuff because I couldn't find anybody, and Craigslist is, sometimes it works and sometimes it's a disaster area. And like,
I'm gonna say, for the most part, Craigslist has been a pretty bomb for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Good.
That's where I met Aragon.
I'm glad.
That's where I met Nick. Like,
I met a lot of nothing good on
Craigslist. I imagine.
And like definitely talked to some people where I was like, are you drunk? Like, I don't even understand. Like stuff where it's like they're responding to you and you're like, do you even hear what you're saying? It doesn't make any sense. And
just not even processing.
oh yeah. And then eventually I gave up on it for I think a few months, like maybe 6 months, and contacted or eventually tried it again kind of on a whim, went online and was like responded to a couple of messages or to a couple of posts and got responses like immediately. And one was from a guy who I'd talked to before but for a different project, and he invited me to come out, and I was like, oh my God, finally some progress. Mm-hmm. And another one was from Elise for Kiss the Curse. And Yes and no. It was still forming. It was like she had a drummer, a bass player, and a manager, and shows already booked. And we've joked about this since with her. And the best part was, I don't think our manager at the time knew that there had been another guitar player, but that guitar player was gone, and I never met the original drummer. That guy just ghosted us immediately after I tried out. And so I walked. The best part is I'm like doing history reading. I think it was history. I was reading some giant textbook. I think it was like history or art history or something. And I get this text message from her being like, hey, I have a couple guitar players over. It's super informal. You want to come by? Are you up to anything? And I'm like in my PJs. I'm like, oh no, I'm not doing anything. I'll be over in just a second. And I throw the book. Throw the book over my shoulder and and I got changed and packed all my shit up. And I think the girl I was dating at the time was at work, and I text her. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go meet someone from Craigslist. If I don't respond, call the cops, and drive out to wherever she was. And as I'm pulling up, there's a car pulling away, and it turns out that that's the other guy who had tried out before me, and they had actually lied to that guy. And Elise had texted Wade to act like he was leaving, for Wade to act like he was leaving, so that way the other guy would leave before I got there.
Why didn't you just say, oh, we have multiple tryouts?
I don't know, but Wade wasn't in the band yet. He was trying out too.
Oh
yeah. But Wade was clearly knew what he was doing, and this other guy was apparently awful.
They tried out at the same time.
Yeah, and the other guy apparently was just terrible.
Yeah.
So
Wade was in the band basically.
I think
Right
at that
after
point,
that,
I think
right
at that
yeah,
point.
yeah.
And so then like I pull up and I walk in and I dress like me, and Wade's in his like I wear all black all the time because I'm
yeah.
going to be in a band. And I show up and he sees my guitar and sees me, and he later told me he thought I was going to like start playing John Mayer based on the way I was like dressed and like the.
Did you have the hair back then, or did you have the short hair?
I had like somewhere in between. I looked like I played high school lacrosse or something.
I gotta say, I love your hair right now.
I'm glad you're into the long hair.
Yeah.
It's full headbanging hair at this point.
Do you still have the gray strip?
Yeah, it's in there. It still exists.
Yeah.
I haven't dyed it yet. I don't know that I ever will. It makes me look more dignified than I really am. I
I
think.
like it, dude. I just like
People
it.
like comment on it. I'll be in like the line at the
very
grocery
distinct
store,
look.
and people like say something like, "Oh, I like you, like that thing you dyed into your hair." I was like, "No, this is just stress. This is just like scars from when I was young." Yeah. But yeah, I'd like kind of like in between lacrosse player hair. I'd like looked like I played high school lacrosse, and I think I started playing and
bro.
oh yeah, absolutely,
Total bro.
Absolutely, full bro.
Oh, man.
And but we hit it off. Wade and I hit it off right away. And I remember driving there, the level of like anxiety. I was so stressed out. I felt like I was going to throw up the entire drive there. I was so nervous. And then like got there, Wade and I hit it off right away. And Elise wanted us to kind of just jam on something. She went inside to make some tea and came out, and we were just playing. And like, he and I were both like competent guitar players, and like I just didn't realize that I was a competent guitar player until like right then,
Yep.
And I was like, oh, okay, you want to do, what's tuning are you in? He's in C, I'm in C, we're both in drop C, and we just like started jamming something in C. And she came out and was like, I think the contrast for how bad the guy before me was really helped me, because he was like terrible. And then that's when she told me all about like, oh, we have a drummer, we have a bass player, I have a manager. And yeah, that's how Kiss the Curse started. And then we had to go find a drummer because our drummer ghosted us.
Immediately left.
Yeah, because I never met that dude. I think last I heard he works at Guitar Center somewhere. That's all I know about him.
Was Patty next?
No,
Did he someone else? Okay.
we had to try out some drummers, and Wade had met, I don't want to say his name because
That's all right.
don't want to throw a dude under the bus,
That's all right.
but
Just do it.
no, Wade had met this guy, and drummer number one in my remembrance,
2 in our hearts.
at oh yeah, I don't know, maybe below 2, but drummer, he had met this guy at a party and been like, wow, this guy can really play, and told him to come out once, and we were all going to get together and practice, and we were like renting a practice spot at the time instead of like the storage unit we ended up in. So we came out and played really well, and he is a good drummer. And he was like, part of the deal with being in the band is Elise had learned a lot from her past experiences, and she had told us about those. Some of them were very dramatic, and I was like, oh God, this whole band thing sounds so stressful. But she had learned a lot from that and been like, and we're going to find a manager, we're going to book shows ahead of time, going to get recordings as soon as we can, and like if you don't have a job and your own gear and like transportation, you're not in.
You're not in. Yeah.
And so this guy's like, oh yeah, I have a job, I have my own gear, I have transportation. We're taking band photos before we've done anything else, and this guy's already asking Elise for money. And he did technically have a job, but he was almost immediately fired from that job after he joined the band. Then he lost his car because his car got repossessed. His phone got cut off. He sold his cymbals so he had cash. So then he didn't have cymbals, so at least had to buy him cymbals. And
There's no way.
it was a disaster. And he played a ton of shows with us, wrote a bunch of music with us, recorded the EP with us. This was over the course of like months.
Yeah.
And then like 2 weeks before maybe it was even more than that, but it was right before our EP release show, it finally, like, this had been building up for like ages. We were like, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, he was living in our practice space. He like couldn't bathe, couldn't take care of himself. Like, and at a certain point, like, you want to take care of this guy, you're like emotionally attached to this dude, but also like,
you just gotta cut it.
yeah, he's like damaging the band. He's stressing us all out. I was driving 45 minutes to Wake Forest to driving 45 minutes to practice, right? Like, and then after that, someone has to drive him back and then drive back to wherever they live. So if I had to do that myself, that's an extra 3 hours out of my day just to get our drummer to and from practice. which is like insane, right?
Yeah. No.
And like we would split that job doing that, but it was just like incredibly stressful. And at one point, everything he owned was in the storage unit we were practicing in. Like all of his clothes were just in trash bags, and we were like, man, like we can't do this anymore. Like so, kicked him out, and found Patty, and Wade actually saw Patrick playing with Russell's old band while he was filling in for that band. That was Enemy in Disguise, and was like, oh my God, this guy's insane. We need this drummer. So we invited him to practice. We tried out some other people that didn't work out, including some people I'm still friends with now. And I sent him the files. Like we pre-pro'd everything we had done in Pro Tools at my house. Sent him the files. He learned all of the songs, showed up, practiced with us once, and played the EP release show. Yeah, stuff of legend. And he only made...
like, Russell's... I mean, I know he's really good.
Oh, Patty's something
and
else.
Russell was like, oh, he's amazing.
Yeah,
I didn't know he was that
He's a legit prodigy. He was like 22 or something, younger than that at the time. I was in my mid-20s. And like, no, he's a legit prodigy. And he like just learned all the music. None of it was super complex. We had a Paramore cover I think we were doing at the time. I think we were doing Misery Business. And yeah, I mean he just showed up and slayed it. And that was really when, like, to me, like that was really when Kiss the Curse started.
Yeah.
Like before then we had done an EP and we'd played a billion shows at some terrible venues just to play shows. And the EP was like, you know, in retrospect, like we spent way too much money for not nearly as good a product as we could have gotten. And but we had learned stuff every step of the way, and like kind of removed the one guy that was like not on the same page with the rest of us. And the biggest thing for me was just getting reps with a live band, because like I'd never done it. The first time I played with a drummer was when trying out for, not for Kiss the Curse, but I tried out for one other band on Craigslist that I did not want to be in. And I'm really glad I'm not, because they've gone through about 1 million members since I tried out for it. The band still exists. But I don't want to throw them under the bus either. But that band is...
If you want to get some views.
No, they've been through a ton of members since I tried out. I got really lucky that I didn't do that, and I went with Kiss the Curse. And like, but I needed the reps with a live drummer. I didn't wear ear protection at the time. I just would be deaf after every practice. This is the best part, and this is something I didn't tell people about. And at the time, they didn't know I'd never been in a band before.
Yeah, no, you lie.
Oh, I lied.
Oh,
I lied.
Yeah.
Straight through my teeth.
Yeah.
And
I bet you playing your first show.
Oh,
Was
yeah.
it
They're
awkward?
Like, oh, what's funny is,
was it obvious
no,
that you had never been in a band?
I don't think it was obvious I'd never been in a band, but like internally, I remember like asking my guitar teacher, I was like, is there anything I need? Like, is there is there like a widget Madoodle? Like, is there like a thing you need that everyone else knows about that I don't know about yet? Like, does that exist? And I was just so scared that there would be this thing that like, man, you didn't bring the widget Madoodle? Each of us needs a widget Madoodle.
Everything just collapses.
And like, everything falls apart. Everyone knows I'm a fraud, you know. And the first show went fine. We played it. Russell's old band played that, actually.
Okay, yeah.
Enemy in Disguise played that. So the first time I saw Russell and Rhett was at my first show. Yeah, I used to actually like practice before every Kiss the Curse practice. And like, ask Wade about this if you ever have him on, because like...
Oh, I want to.
Because
Listen, Wade.
He and I saw each other 6 days a week for a few months when that band started.
You guys got real close.
But, well, here's the thing. We would take turns coming to one another's houses because it was like I was in school full time and working part time, and he had a full time job, and then we didn't have any music, and we had shows booked.
I still love that.
And Elise had booked shows, so like
you gotta play them.
And we had to, you know, we didn't want to cancel anything. We had to play them, and I didn't know what was normal, so I'm like, I guess I'm just gonna write a bunch of music now.
You didn't really know how, probably.
Yeah. And like, I had written a ton of music by myself before with terribly programmed drums, but I'd never written in a room with a drummer. Yeah. So what happened was Wade and I would Wade would bring an idea to my house, or I'd bring an idea to him and teach it to him, or he'd bring an idea to me and teach it to me, and we'd record them into Pro Tools just to have them and send them to the other members of the band.
Mm-hmm.
And then like,
and that's just become like the normal thing to do.
well, now it's like how people
just,
work.
Yeah.
But at the time, I don't think other people in the band had done that before, and that's.
I don't think it was. Well, what year was this?
I mean, this is only like 4 or 5 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe. I mean, like I mean, even 4 or 5, 5, 6 years ago, I still don't think it was popular to. I don't think it was as pervasive as it is now. Now it's like everyone has a rig, and like it's almost an expectation that like you'll be able to send someone files and they'll be able to drop them into their DAW and use them. Mm-hmm. And I definitely think you're right though. Like that has changed considerably even since the band started. And like we were seeing each other legitimately 6 days a week for a couple of months there because we were writing music, practicing. Even if we couldn't get the rest of the band, we'd play along to like the drum tracks from Pro Tools. Mm-hmm. And there were times where we would practice as a band 4+ days a week because we were under so much pressure to like learn these songs.
Wait, how long after joining the band did you have to write and get these songs down before you? How long?
I mean, it was like max 3 months. It was probably more like to write and learn to play the songs. Ask Wade. Maybe I'm wrong, and it was more time than that, but I think it was like max 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
It was like no time, and I think the reason for that happening was that like I think Elise thought she had a lineup, and then the guitar player disappeared, and then the drummer disappeared, and so she's like bringing in more people, and
then you guys are trying to get the feel for each other and trying to figure out. Okay, what is our style?
What's funny is there was like all we knew is that we weren't a metal band. She didn't want to be a metal band.
That's fine.
So like, okay, fine, we're not a metal band. We didn't have any other guidelines. Yeah. It was like we're just going to show up and like bring ideas in and we'll see what happens. Uh-huh. And we just got really lucky that like Andrew, our first bass player, was very open-minded and was like into whatever we were doing. And Wade and I got along really well. And our drummer our first drummer for all his faults was a good drummer. Yeah. He could play. So we had like no time, and I used to actually play. This is the best part. This is another thing I didn't tell anybody at the time, but my girlfriend at the time was aware of this. Is that like before every practice, I would be so nervous. I would set up all of my gear upstairs at my house, play like the drum tracks along with a click from my computer, and play the entire set like 2 or 3 times before going to practice to play it. Because I was so stressed out every practice. and now that sounds ridiculous to me.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm like, that's... At the same time, as ridiculous as that is, I think that is like such a cool, like it's such a unique mentality to have. Because even though you were doing it out of nerves, you were still doing it.
Yeah.
Which means you were playing it.
I was practicing more than like anyone else.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So like when it came time to play, you were probably like
I was ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's funny is I look at my like skill level then from when I joined the band and like a year after that and then a year after that and a year after that. And it's like not to pat myself on the back, but it's like insane how much better I got because I just had to learn how to play with other people, had to learn to play with a live drummer instead of a click. And I was so obsessed with preparing myself that I practiced. Again, I was probably playing the set twice as much or 3 times as much as anyone else in the band.
Which is, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of bands. When they are practicing is when they're practicing their songs.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And
that's something we established though in the band is like it can't be. And Wade and I used to talk about this. Like the practice can't be for learning the songs. The reason we send out the files, I'd send out videos of myself playing the parts. So it's like the reason we do that is so you can learn the songs at home. This is sort of band 101, but we didn't realize that. So you learn the songs at home, and then we practice at practice. And Elise was really insistent on us practicing as if we were performing. And I needed that too, because I never performed in front of people. So I had to, early on in the band, I barely moved. Like physically moved on stage. I'd stare at my hands a lot. By the time I left the band, I was like playing. We had that song "Useless" where I sweep pick that entire part of the song, and like I don't have to think about that anymore. I can spin around in circles. Like that's not complicated for me anymore. But like at the time, the power chord pseudo nu metal nonsense we were writing was just so like, okay, count every note, make sure you know where everything is, and like.
Yeah, especially where you came from, where you weren't playing it off feel.
Yeah,
you were
exactly.
playing it off of like structure and like I need to see, almost like see it, and you have to like follow along. Versus like later when you have more like when you higher skill, it's just like, all right, how's the groove? You know, you get into rhythm.
Yeah. And at the time, it was really like. I was used to like playing to a click, and I was used to being able to control Z any of my mistakes while I was tracking them, and like you don't get to do that live. And but also I didn't realize that like just because I know I made a mistake, no one else can tell, and no one's looking at me anyway.
No one knows the song.
Everyone, all the guys in the audience were looking at Elise. No one's paying attention to me. It's like who are we kidding? The drums are so loud that no one can hear my parts, and like. Who cares? But so that was like I got a lot out of that period, but it was certainly really stressful. And then eventually we released EP number 1, played a ton of shows. Eventually we got a new bass player. Our bass player, Andrew Russell, got an opportunity to go play bass in a signed band on tour.
Okay, awesome.
Which was really cool.
Oh,
Fall to June was the name of the band. I don't think they exist anymore. But great guys, a founding guitar player from, oh my God, it's like a super famous band. They wrote the song Bully.
All I ever be is
Shinedown. The original guitar player from Shinedown was in Fall to June.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the bass player, I believe, from Shinedown was managing them.
Sheesh.
And so their bass player, Fall to June's bass player, got hurt or sick or something. I can't remember what. and he was like an industry vet. He'd been around for ages. I'd actually seen him live before.
Oh, were they an older band or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I was like trying to match it.
Yeah, they were like southern. They were like
sense.
southern rock, but like very aggressive. Like sort of southern rock in Shinedown's direction. If that makes any sense. And then like they were on tour and stuff, and he went off with them and got this chance to record demos that were mixed by like some big name guys and like really fun stuff.
I think you got to take that up.
And so he took the opportunity, but then we didn't have a bass player, so Matt Brocking, who. So then this is how my band got like Patrick Carlton and Matt Brocking in it, and like that makes no sense, right? How the hell does this little female fronted rock band end up with guys like of that caliber in it? And like that's how is that Matt was dating Elise.
Oh yeah.
And we needed a bass player on short notice, and he was like, "You know what, man? Sure, I'll do it." So
he can learn those songs, no problem.
What's funny is he came over to my house. We had like a week or something to get him ready, legitimately, like 5 days. Yeah. Like Andrew was gone. We have 5 days or less. Jeremy, I think, had talked to us about picking up the spot, but didn't want to do it at that point.
Yeah.
So Matt joins the band. We have like a few days to get him ready for the first show. He plays a ton of shows with us, and then it's EP number 2 time, and we end up. We're like, okay, let's go. We have a better idea of like what's industry standard now, right? So like, let's go find the right producer. Don't put any like. Obviously, we have a budget, but like, let's not. If we have to go somewhere, let's go somewhere. If it's going to get recorded one place, mixed somewhere else, let's do that.
It's something where like, there's no. Yeah.
I think we had these.
If you are serious about it, then you have to spend money. You have to be okay spending the money, and you have to. It's because it's an investment.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's just like, if you want the best, you gotta.
You have to go.
You gotta go find the best.
And let's not settle just because someone's local.
Yeah.
And like we've done the thing where we went to the local guy who helped us learn some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We needed the experience.
And early on.
Makes perfect sense.
Early on, it's fine.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, at this point, it's not like you're going to have the following to, like, really push your music.
Right.
You're not going to, like, you're trying to develop that.
Yeah.
So, there's not, your first EP or whatever, like, don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be like Slipknot, who I think spent, like, $40,000 or some shit like that.
Oh, really?
It was on their first EP.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, it blew up.
Yeah.
But like...
Yeah, but like,
Yeah, I mean,
you're probably not going to be that way.
You're not.
Especially if you're mean. This is like the first band you've ever been in.
Yeah.
And like, realistically, no matter however old you are, if you're not experienced, it's not going to happen.
Crazy people from Iowa.
Just those crazy kids from Iowa, yeah. You never know what you're going to get coming out of Iowa. To be clear, someone in the room that isn't me is from Iowa. So
Really?
yeah. Yeah. But we decided like, let's go, spend the money. And my whole thing was, instead of doing a full length, I think at first we were thinking full length. And the issue with that is,
more money.
well, yeah, but it's also like, people don't buy albums the way they used to. People stream individual songs predominantly. And like, if you can get a huge increase in production value and do half the number of songs, why not do that?
It's also, when you think about like the amount of time that you're going to put into the songs, outside of like, because it's not just the quality of recording, it's the quality of the actual song, like the songwriting.
Exactly.
And why do 10 good songs when you only need one great one?
Exactly.
That's my mindset. Like,
Makes perfect sense.
Dude, I'm even worse than that, where I'm like, fuck the EP, just singles.
Well, people do that now too.
That's where I'm at.
People do that now too.
I don't see the point of doing a full. I think doing a full album is fun.
Yeah.
And I think there's something rewarding about that.
Absolutely.
That experience. And doing the EPs, kind of like a almost dimmed down version of that.
Sure.
But to me, I'm like, just take your 2 or 3 best songs and just focus all your time on them.
Yeah. And especially in like the YouTube universe, it's like, just put, that's going to be on YouTube. That's what's going to be representing you anyway. If you're going to like you're saying, why have 10 songs at a lower level of production value that you feel meh about, as opposed to getting like your core songs just the way you want them, and then get them recorded just the way you want them. And I think that, like, especially with like live music, people are trying to sell their CDs, and I think it is hard to sell a single on a CD is part of the problem. So having like 3 or 4 songs to sell does make sense in that sense. But once you're off of kind of, if you're like a studio band or a home project, don't worry about that. Just release singles.
Dude, I have weird ideas.
Oh.
I have an idea. I'll just say it because fuck it.
It's my podcast. I do what I want.
No, I mean, I don't think anyone's going to steal it. I don't think anyone else is going to do this idea. It sounds stupid. It sounds so stupid. My idea is, it almost is like taking it back in a way from where we've gone, where everyone is like, it's so easy. It's so much easier to produce albums and EPs that every band is doing it.
Yeah.
My idea is almost like, get your singles.
Yeah.
And then put together like demo albums or demo EPs.
Okay.
And then they're just demos, right?
Okay.
And just sell them for super cheap at shows. You burn them off. You burn them off yourself.
Computer. Yeah.
You burn them off yourself, and you hand write the name on it. It doesn't have to be fancy, but the idea.
There's a niche for this. Already what you're saying.
Oh
there
no!
are people who would be
I
into
have
this.
hilarious. I have a hilarious. I'll tell you off afterwards.
Okay. Oh god.
My whole the marketing side of doing these demos. It's. I think it's great, but
I hope so.
I mean, so you focus all your money, your real money, and time and effort on those singles.
Sure.
But then you also want to sell your music, so just make demo CDs super cheap that aren't full production.
Yeah.
And let them, so everyone knows this is demos,
right?
Because we're focusing on something.
Yeah.
It's a completely different concept from what everyone does.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like a collector's thing. Like, you want to hear, like, you can hear the earlier version of the song, and like, you can stream the HD version of the song whenever you want later on whatever. But the only way you can get like the fun, like behind the scenes version is live. That is pretty cool.
And it's just like, it could be. And like those can update, like, how quickly you can do those? Because if you just do a demo, if it's just demos, like, you can just like rotate through songs on demos. So
Yeah.
you can just pass them out like you don't know what you're gonna get. You don't know which songs you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Like it's like almost like playing mystery box.
Sure.
I don't know like.
So like when I'm like obsessed with Linkin Park, right? And they have the LPU and part of the Linkin Park Underground, and that's like the fan club. And part of what they give at one part of what happens when you're in the fan club is every year you get a CD of B-sides and like demo versions of their songs and stuff that was never released. And like that was always for me like one of the coolest things was getting to hear this sort of like, you know, Breaking the Habit, but with Mike's vocals on it from when he wrote it. And he can't really sing the parts, so he's sort of like, you know, he can like barely hit the notes.
Or if the lyrics aren't, if
the
they're
lyrics
the
are
lyrics
changed.
done, and then just kind of do like a mumble.
They've scattered through the whole song. Yeah, that happens too, and like I think that stuff's really interesting.
You can see
honestly.
it in a different state. I think it's such and it's almost like, it is almost like a niche thing that like, who's the only bands that do that, or the only bands that have stuff like that grew up in a different time. Because like the bands that like, what are you gonna do to stand out? It's almost like that. I'm like, I don't know anyone that does this shit. Maybe it's stupid. Let us know if it's stupid.
Well, it's funny.
But
Wade and I would always talk about that. Like, we'd have these band discussions, and it'd be like, well, everyone else, and like they'd list these other local bands. Well, these guys are doing this, and Wade and I would both be like, that's why we shouldn't.
Yeah.
That's
exactly
a good reason.
Why we should.
That's a good reason. Like, they're not successful. That's a sign that we should not do that. You know, like, and I think, okay, let's find something else to do. If everyone else is going to the local guy, don't go to the local guy. You know, if everyone else is using certain types of lights, don't use those types of lights. If everyone else has scrims that look a certain way, don't get scrims that look a certain way.
Do anything that makes you different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be super gimmicky.
I wish I could remember the name of this band. I remember them because one, their vocalist they were older, like a good amount older than us.
Okay.
But like, their vocalist was really good.
Okay.
And then he pulled out what's the fucking the cops use like megaphone.
Oh, megaphone, sure.
Pulled out a megaphone
Sure.
and he's got the mic.
Yeah.
And he's like, and then he's like, woo! He's like doing that shit into the mic. I'm like, oh my gosh! Like you just burned a hole in my memory from doing that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Anything like that, pretty much. That'll do that. Yeah.
Anyway, so sorry we got distracted.
I don't know what we were talking about. Oh, we recorded the second EP. And, this is a good one, though. Right before we went to record the second EP. This is, again, we have Patrick Carlton and Matt Brocking are both in my band at this point, which is insane. in my little, like, female-fronted rock
let's
band.
Let's not take away from you and Wade.
Well, here's the thing. Wade and I weren't that good yet, is part of the deal.
Okay.
Is that we both got a lot better. And I think there was, like, competitiveness with us where we're both, like, trying to get better.
At the same level.
Yeah, we were very good friends from like the get-go. That wasn't the problem. That was never a problem, but it was like we were both like trying to get better, and then Patty was in the band, and then Matt was in the band, and when your bass player can sweep pick faster than you can, you better learn how to sweep pick. Like, you know, like y'all
You're like looking at him like, how'd you do that?
Yeah, like legitimately I would be like, God damn it. So right before we went in to record that EP, well, how we came to it was like we were looking at different producers and different like studios and stuff, and I ran into a music video for either Colorblind or crap, I don't remember what music video it was. It was one of the songs off the album Dissonance by Hands Like Houses. It was either Colorblind or the other one that wasn't I Am, the other one of the kind of the hits off that album that wasn't I Am. And I ran into the music video for that, and I was like, this is what we need to sound like. We need to sound like this. This is the production value we need. And I was like, I'm going to find out who produced this, and I'm going to Google him, and I'm going to email him. So I legitimately like Google them, find out it's this guy named James Paul Wisner, go on Facebook, go to his studio page, message his studio page. He responds the next day, and I'm like, you know, like my head explodes because like I can't believe that worked. Like this guy got back to me.
Like, no way. Did you like send music or?
I think I sent him. I think I sent him the first music video.
Oh, you guys had done a music video?
We had done a music video for Roulette,
How long had you been a band at this point?
Year and a half. I was only in the band for about 2.5 years.
You guys were moving.
Oh, my whole life was school, work, my girlfriend, band. And like, I didn't have any other friends. I didn't do anything else. Who needs those?
What are friends?
I pretty much didn't sleep. I was talking to Sydney McVicker from Reason to Find. She goes to Berkeley now online. And she was like, how did you do school full time, a job, and like the band? And I was like, I didn't sleep and everyone hated me. I think that's what it was. It's like I was always in a bad mood. I was like completely exhausted. I never worked out. Like I ate terribly. I was always drinking coffee. It was really bad.
How's your teeth doing? How's your teeth doing?
Better now. Better now that I'm not chugging coffee every day. But like, yeah, we just like were working our tails off. I think it was only like a year and a half. Because again, I was only in the band for like 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. So like,
I didn't realize it was only 2.5.
Yeah, we just did a lot.
Okay, so you guys went down to Florida.
Yeah, we ended up
hung out with James.
We went there, recorded the EP, 4 songs in just under 2 weeks, or 2 weeks, I think. I was there the longest. Everyone else kind of came and went some, so they could like my little retail job doesn't care if I'm not there. Like everyone else has like full-time gigs to get back to. Spent all of our money. We were completely exhausted. Wade exclusively ate roller food from the gas station down the street. Yeah, it was an experience. We discovered Sip and Dip, which is this local like coffee and donut place, which I like long to return to. I really enjoyed Sip and Dip, but it was run by these like this like Korean family. So like it was this and the sign, the Sip and Dip sign outside was like a direct Dunkin' Donuts ripoff with the same color scheme and everything. It was ridiculous. And like, it was just so ludicrous. But we go and record there, and I like didn't know that my like songs could sound that good, if that makes any sense. Because I'd never seen someone edit so precisely before, and I'd never seen like,
a whole new experience.
Oh, it was insane. And of course, like at this point, I've been researching James leading up to this, and at this point, I'm like so intimidated by being in the same room with the guy.
Did you do Under Oath?
He did Under Oath. He did multiple Under Oath albums. He did early Paramore, As It Is. Yeah, As It Is. He's 36 Crazy Fists. The guy's like legit. Yeah. His dad was a big name producer too. Like, he's like really, he's mastered a bunch of stuff for me since then. And oh yeah, that's right, your band, among other people. And he mixed the Reason to Find album. I recorded that, and he mixed that.
Did he master it?
He mixed and mastered it. I can preview that for you if you want to hear some of it. You can listen to some of it when we're not on the podcast, because Savannah would find me and murder me if any of it made it on the podcast. It's only your life.
Selling.
Edward dies live on the podcast.
Send it to me. We'll play it while once we get him on here.
Okay.
We'll play it and be like, hey, so I found some like behind the scene footage.
Savannah would actually murder me.
Just get out of state.
Yeah, I'd have to like change my name. I have to change my name, cut my hair. Like, yeah, it would be a problem. But
you can't cut your hair. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the one thing that can't go. But yeah, we recorded that EP, and a guy named Andy Van Diet, a big name mastering engineer in New York, mastered it and crushed it. Crushed it figuratively. It also was like very compressed. And but the yeah, right. But the best part, this is one of my favorite stories from that, was actually when we were sending him the demos. We had recorded the drums for the pre-pro in the room next. You've been to my house, the room next to my office, that guest room. We recorded the drums in there.
Really?
We had to fit a drum kit in there and all the mics and like run the cables directly from my desk. I didn't have a cable snake.
Did you not? Because you were recording downstairs, weren't you?
Briefly. I eventually got a cable snake so I could get all the way downstairs. I didn't have a cable snake.
Okay, gotcha.
So we recorded them in there and managed to not get a noise complaint, which was great. And I'd like recently learned how to do that in school, so I was like really excited about it and did all that. And then sample replaced the drums and sent them in. And James goes, this is before we go to Florida, he asked me multiple times when I talked to him, now, are these programmed drums? And I'm like, no, that's just our drummer. And like, I hadn't edited the drums.
Yeah.
And like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I talked to him again. So you program the drums in the demos, right? No. That's just our drummer.
Patty's really fucking
Yeah, and then
good.
we're in Florida. And Patty starts playing, and he's like, we're in the like a control room area, and Patty's behind us in another room, and like it's literally his studio is a house.
Yeah.
That has like there have been no physical changes done to the house. It's just a house with some like he brings these giant like pillar things that help diffuse the sound.
Yeah.
But it's just like really high. It's got like these insanely high ceilings in this foyer. And
Did
so
he buy it for this purpose?
oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
purchased
okay.
as a studio home.
Yeah.
And he's got cats that live there full time. These 2 cats that live there. Max's
I
studio.
would love to just have him in the background.
Yeah, and I think the cats like kind of go on hot. And Elise and I are both allergic to cats, so they spend a lot of time in this one room and like, but he starts playing. Patty starts playing, and James turns around and looks at me. He's like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "I know, I told you, man. Like, I was not making this shit up. Our drummer is just really good." And he would. The rest, he didn't comment on the rest of us, but he repeatedly would say stuff about Patrick. Patrick would play something. He'd be like, "That guy hits really hard." I'm like, "Dude,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
He hits incredibly hard." I remember the first time we practiced with him, there's like consistent rim shots from him will deafen you within one song if you're not wearing ear protection. But that was great though, seeing like, you know, seeing this like dude, like this guy with like gold records react to your friend that way is like pretty legit.
Yeah.
And trying to there's a video of me trying to sweep pick in front of him, in front of James, and being like so visibly scared the entire time, and I'm like playing it terribly, and like, oh
So just
god.
like stop, and he's like, "Why don't we try that again?"
Well, what's funny about James is he'll say stuff like he doesn't want to be like mean, so he'll be like, you know, your sense of harmony is a little rough, and that was like always the phrase he would use. It's a little rough. And like I learned that whenever he said that, it was like, you're really bad at this.
Bad.
Like, stop doing that. It's bad.
Like, why don't we do something else?
Yeah.
Why
And
don't you stick to power chords?
yeah, exactly. So, but we got through it all, recorded the 4 songs. Did, you know, Elise wrote some really cool backing vocal stuff that we'd never done live. So, and he did, and then I stuck around, and James did all the keyboard stuff because that was not stuff we had done yet. And I had to really try to convince the band to do that. Like, that was something going in I really wanted to happen.
Was it like keyboards? Is it up front keyboards, like, you know, like noticeable, or is it more like background, just like adding?
A little bit of both. Like, at no point is it like a lead instrument on that EP, but there are times when like it's doubling something I'm playing on guitar, or it's these like huge swelling effects and stuff. And you know, he knows how to do that he's done that in different styles, and he knows what he's doing. Oh yeah, he's a pro. And part of the reason I wanted to go to a guy like him.
Someone send this to him.
I'll send it to him. Part of the reason I wanted to go to a guy like that was that, like, I didn't want the band members to be bickering about something and have a guy we didn't respect trying to pull us in one way or another. It had to be someone who was like, this guy recorded fucking Hands Like Houses. All right, have you heard that album? Okay, what he says, we're doing that.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's why I want to go to a guy like that, where it's like the bickering ends when he says, like, knock it off. This is how we're doing it. Like, and so, you know, when we started talking about keyboard stuff, it was like he felt like it could fit the music. I felt like it could fit the music. We all, I think Matt in particular was a little hesitant around it, but like I think at the end of the day, we all he comes from like a death metal background,
you see,
you know, and so he's like, I'm more of like a Linkin Park guy. He's more of a death metal guy, and like so when we started hearing the stuff coming back though, everyone was like, oh no, this is dope, you know. And I was in the room for him adding the keyboard stuff. It was just me. And what's funny is like last couple of nights, it was like me and the cat in the house at night, because he goes home to his actual house. James does. And then like all day it was just me watching him add keyboard stuff and being like, yeah, it sounds great, keep going. Like I was like there for moral support.
You're just sitting there. Well, like at this point, you were probably watching to learn.
I mean,
because you like what, you know, when you go into recording.
I got more out of that 2 weeks than probably like years of just YouTube and fuddling around by myself. I had never really spent a lot of time working, and he was so willing to answer questions and talk about stuff is the crazy part. Or like we're paying him, like it doesn't hurt him any to like answer a question, and he's a nice dude, and like I got so much out of that experience in terms of learning how to edit, signal routing for drum stuff in particular, drum compression. We used real amps, like my little Hughes and Kettner. That's the main rhythm tone on that, and then he layered that with his custom audio amp for quad tracked rhythm guitars. And I'd never quad tracked rhythm guitars. I was like, holy shit. And he made my amp sound way better than it's ever sounded before or since. I still haven't figured that out. And, it was just I think,
don't touch the settings.
Yeah, I mean, we all got an incredible amount out of the whole experience. And, Elise got to try some new stuff.
I think there's like a level of knowledge that you gain in songwriting too, like just stuff you would never think of, like by working with someone like that. You're like,
absolutely.
This is this is a good idea, like, and like help develop your sound.
Sure.
Too, like, because an experience like that, like, you're going to learn, like, you're going to try something out. You're going to hear something like, that's the direction we're going.
Yeah.
Like from now on.
Well, we walked out of there with that. That's exactly what you're exactly right. We walked out of there with like, we have a sound now. Like, we're not generic pseudo metalcore local band anymore. It's like we have this sound, and it's this weird. It was kind of a weird thing because it was this weird cross between like, we have this vocalist who's kind of a belty, vibrato-ish mainstream rock vocalist, and then we've got like this drummer who will just slay you in like a kind of more of a metal sense. And then there were these like passages where like, I'm sweep picking the entire time, and like that's kind of unusual. It's like that's kind of a weird combination, but it was all within like a very consumable like
it's mainstream enough to be played on the radio.
Yeah.
But it's also like heavy enough to be able to go to these metal shows.
Yeah, and because we need to be able to hang with the local metal bands, and we needed to be able to. This is dumb now in retrospect, but at the time I was very concerned about like, I wanted to be taken seriously, and like I put all this time in, and at this point I was like actually getting some confidence, and I was like, I'd also been holding my pick wrong for years, so about a month before I went into the studio I started holding my pick correctly, and so like that was really like anxiety inducing for me as well, because I'm going to the studio trying to do this stuff. I had my do you have a pick somewhere? I had, if you think of your thumb, if you like hold your thumb up vertically in front of your face, and like I had my pick like this, so it was like sloping down towards the ground.
Oh, okay.
And so what it meant was it was really easy to downstroke things, but whenever I was like
when you're coming up,
whenever I was like alternate picking anything, I was actually catching on the strings, and like my guitar teacher points it out to me, and I start doing it, and now it's like I can't imagine ever playing anything like that. But now it's like coming out from a right angle from my thumb, which is correct, and like, or more correct. I don't know if it's people hold their picks different. Tosin Abasi has like a thumb bending the wrong direction and stuff.
My favorite is August Burns Red. I think he's like,
that stresses me out.
So,
that makes
I don't
no
even
sense.
know how he holds it,
That
because
makes
it's
no
like,
sense.
sometimes he'll do is it this? Maybe it's this.
I mean, look, he's successful.
Yeah.
Who am I to talk? But I like changed what I was holding my pick and everything, and like really wanted to prove that I could play, and like, so we're trying to include these more like complex parts, and I sweep pick like multiple times on the album, and I was sitting there practicing. I was sitting there like while recording. Wade like has pointed this out before. Like while we were recording the first EP, while like Elise was in the booth, I was sitting in the couch in the back of sitting there practicing something that eventually became useless. And like, isn't that wild? And
well,
like,
you were probably practicing something that you can use later.
Yeah.
Like,
oh no, useless the song, not useless. I don't use it.
Oh, okay.
It made it onto the EP. It's the song used.
Okay.
Yeah, and Elise, this is another thing. Shout out to Elise, because she would be at like, we'd be at a show and she'd be announcing the next song. She's like, this next song is useless. And one of us would always be like, it's not useless. It's a great song. It's called Useless. And like, the song is called Useless. And but that was a common misunderstanding. But but we walked out of there with a sound, and we had like a defined sound. And that EP got us a lot of shows, because people would hear it and be like, oh, this band is legit.
You're like, whoa.
Yeah. And we started playing to click tracks and backing tracks.
Yeah.
And
you guys have samples and
samples and everything, and
that changes your performance.
Well, it changed everything. It was like suddenly we were much tighter. We sounded way more pro live. We looked a lot more pro live. As long as that click track is going and Patty has it in his ear, we just have to play to Patty, and my last show was probably my favorite show was when we played in front of Red Jumpsuit. We were direct support to Red Jumpsuit right before we went to Florida. But my last show is we opened for this huge tour package that was headlined by Born of Osiris, and so that was my last show. Was opening for Born of Osiris.
I remember that.
And
how? But yeah,
who cares how? And so that was great. And I'm glad I did the whole Kiss the Curse thing, and then I left and finished college less than a year later. The idea was I was going to be leaving. I was going to be finishing school soon. And you'd start focusing on recording people and stuff. And so the week I turned 29, I went to Berkeley. I went to Boston and walked.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the decision, was it? Did you know that wasn't the band wasn't what you wanted to do, and you wanted to do the recording? Or?
I think it was mostly out of necessity. I knew if I was going to be in the band, I have to stay all in on the band. But there was no way I was going to be able to have a day job, start recording people, and be in that band. That just was not realistic. Yeah. And I think that I was just tired, and there's no way I was going to have enough energy and fortitude to keep doing that. And they found an incredible guitar player to replace me, Nick, and that guy is just he is just a top tier guitar player. And he's 20. He was 21 when he joined Kiss the Curse, and they were banned for about 6 more months before they went on hiatus. And I think I missed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize. For some reason I thought they were. I thought that you had left earlier.
I mean, maybe it was closer to a year, but it wasn't that long.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't know why I would. I knew.
Yeah.
I had never. The first time I saw them was their last show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was at that show.
Oh, that's right.
With
I think I met you there.
And Fear the Indifference, I think.
Yeah. Shit.
Yeah, I probably met there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I remember that, actually. I think I met, Jake had brought all the guys, and I met all of you guys then. And, so I missed all kinds of hijinks, though. I missed... stuff I probably shouldn't say on the podcast, but stuff that was incredible. Some really incredible stories, including a disaster in a hotel room and Jeremy being rendered unconscious, and so I wasn't there for any of that. And poor Nick, he'd just joined this band. And, he sees all this, you guys played in front of Red Jumpsuit. You guys played in front of Born of Osiris.
It's a great selling point.
You played in front of all of, I don't even remember all the bands you played. We opened for all of these national acts, right? And
do you get pay to plays? Were they pay to plays?
Most of them were sell tickets effectively, and sell 30 tickets and you open for Red Jumpsuit, or sell 30 tickets and you open for Boo or Born of Osiris or whoever. And Boo. And we played, and some of them were this is the dirty secret of the local music scene, is that if you're good enough, everyone else has to sell tickets, but the promoter won't ask you to sell tickets.
Yeah.
And
because you can bring your crowd.
Because
they want you to play as many of those shows as you will.
Well, because and they want the local support. Because if they're worried about having competent local support and they can't find someone they trust, they'll just call you instead, and that way you don't have to buy onto as many shows or sell tickets for as many shows. But it requires you to have
do they do that
real clout.
Do you think that they do it initially when they're we have this, when we got this show coming up, we want that band because we know, or is it more of a, okay, we haven't found anyone that's going to take these shows.
Sure. We're
going to give it to that band.
I've definitely seen a variety of options. So there was when the Red Jumpsuit show was he asked the guy who booked it, who was no longer working in the local music scene.
You guys would be perfect. Kiss the Curse would be perfect for that.
It was a perfect show for us, and it was 3 locals in Red Jumpsuit. It was Ramey, Something Clever, and Kiss the Curse, and then Red Jumpsuit, in that order. And good. Something Clever went out there and crushed it. They did a Day to Remember cover, and it was the crowd was so into that A Day to Remember cover. It was a great choice. And
are they pop punk? Is that
Something Clever? No, they're hard rock, they're like radio rock at this point with some like metalcore-ish elements. And
I've heard the name. I think I've seen
they're good.
one show that they were at, but I
check
couldn't
them
go.
out. Yeah,
I've wanted to though.
check them. They're from Charlotte. Check them out.
Oh, okay.
They've been around for, I mean, I don't even know how long. They've been around for a long time and really know their stuff. They work with Joe Potts. He's an audio engineer, local audio engineer. He does a lot of their stuff. Actually, one of their songs ended up in a Dragon Ball Z. This is great, like an online advertisement for like some Dragon Ball Z thing. Their song is the song in the background.
Oh, that's good.
Which is like must be one of the coolest things in the world.
Yeah.
Definitely a band worth checking out. But like, that was one of those things where the promoter asked those three bands because he knew that Raimi would bring people. He knew that Something Clever would bring people. He knew we would bring people, and we.
Was this in Greensboro?
Yeah, it was in Green Street, in Greensboro.
Green Street.
Yeah,
Is that still a place?
that's in. I think so. It's in downtown Greensboro. As far as I know, it is. And Crank It Loud does a lot of booking there now. And
I mean, they do
everywhere.
Pretty much all the booking.
Yeah,
in this area,
they do a lot of
so.
booking. All those like those national acts coming through tend to be with them. It seems, but yeah, that was one of those things where like he picked us.
Yeah,
and that was great. And we had, there was a great show, and then there were others where it was like, actually we did one at Green Street where I think it was like they just couldn't find anyone to do it, and they were like, please come play the show.
Yeah, just show up.
And like there was like no one came out. The national act was not good. I'm not going to go into who that was either.
Yeah.
And we've played some like that, and there have definitely been some, especially like Drunk Horse, where it's been like, hey, like we want a really steady, really like we just want one really steady local who we know we can trust. Yep. We won't make you guys sell tickets if you come play it, and we'll give you a good time slot.
Yeah, because they know like you're good. Like,
yeah, they know we won't screw it up. They know we'll bring people out. They know we'll be on time. If they want to like, yeah. So it's we got some, and especially later on, we got a lot of shows like that, which was great, which was just ideal. And it's all about be as professional as you can, be on time, don't get wasted, have your gear. It's a real thing.
Yeah,
have your gear ready. If gear breaks down, don't act like a jackass. Stuff happens.
Don't panic. Like
and like
it was actually really cool, real cool. I went to who was those Continuations, Seeking Solace.
Mm-hmm.
They were playing a show with touring band Tetrarch, something like that.
Sure.
Touring band from Atlanta. Seeking Solace, their guitar just I think one of the strings just like snaps.
Okay.
And they're just like, dude's like, fuck. The guy from Tetrarch, one of them's just like goes back, grabs his guitar, hands it to him. I'm like, that's super cool. Like a dope. Touring band just hands you, like that's I'm like, that's cool as shit, because they have to go play the rest of their tour. Like, to risk just giving your guitar over. I think that's
incredible.
Anyway,
that's a great story. No, that's awesome. I wish that would ever happen to me.
Right.
I'm still waiting for Lee McKinney to give me his guitar. Probably in the wrong tune. But anyway, I think just like, and if once you're established, that's a lot more likely to happen. And today, like click tracks and backing tracks tend to be the norm. So normally having those help too.
So you guys record your first EP. Like what was that? Probably couple months in.
Yeah, it was like 2-3 months into the band. I think. Don't hold me to that. Elise would probably know the timeline better than I would. We had not been a band for very long.
And you got shows booked. How long did it take to like really start to see some rise?
It took a long time, honestly. Yeah. It was like, I think at the time it felt like a long time. In retrospect, it probably wasn't that long. Like I said, I was only in the band for 2.5 years, so it's like.
Because I think that's a big one. I know, like you start the band, really hope to see like some progress, right. And then you just don't.
Well, that's the thing. We played. I'm trying to remember the name of that venue. It doesn't exist anymore. It was outdoor, and it was near the coast.
Like in
and
Wilmington?
Michael yeah, no, I don't think it was in Wilmington,
Yeah,
but it
right.
was like it's near, like there's a Marine base out there,
Okay.
and
Is it in Jacksonville?
I'm not sure of the town. It's not. I don't think it was in Jacksonville, but it might be near Jacksonville for all I know. And I can't remember. It was like the something tavern or the something. There eventually we played this place called the Sound Bar Lounge, which I don't think exists anymore either. But we played this one venue that was an outdoor venue, and we played it. We must have played it. We were like the house band, and it's like a few hours away, and we drive all the way out there and open for whoever was playing and play these really short sets, and it was like, I mean, I just felt like we were never getting out of there, and we had never played the Maywood, like. And the first time I played the Maywood, it was on the old stage.
I've seen
Did you see the
pictures.
old?
I've seen it.
The other, so the stage used to be in the corner where the bar is
Pool
now.
table is.
Yeah, where the pool table is. It used to be in that corner, and fitting 4 people on that stage, let alone 5, was like dangerous. And it was like high off the ground, and like it was legitimately dangerous because there's that door there, so they have to there's like rail there just to stop you from like falling off the side of the stage, and the stage can't be any wider because there's a door there.
Yeah.
And so
That sounds like a lot of fun.
sure. And like it was the first time, and eventually it was like, God, this is annoying. But like we had never played the Maywood, but we had played all these other places, and a lot of them were near the coast because the guy that was managing us at the time was based off near the coast. And I mean, it felt like forever before we started playing like good shows with locals who like drew their own crowds. Before I felt like we started drawing our own crowd. Before we started playing with nationals and felt like, and like before I felt like we deserved it. That was another thing. Like, definitely times we got people to, we did ticket sale shows and we'd sell the tickets and get on the show, and then or not sell enough tickets and have to buy on, and then we'd go play the show and I'd walk off stage and be like, we don't deserve to be here. Like, that was definitely a thing for me, and I'm glad that we eventually got past that. But a lot of it was like once we started writing the songs for the second EP, that's when I started to feel better about what we were doing, and when we started to like, I felt like we have some fans, like we have some people who are actually into our band and not just like our friends, and or like people who are into our band and not just like into Elise, because like they're definitely guys who would show up and be like, oh yeah, check out their singer. And like, that's cool, come to our shows please, but like,
we don't care. We
don't care. But it's pretty neat though when someone hears your music and is like, oh, this band is fucking dope. Like, and
it's a cool little way to like subliminally get fans though.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it gets people in the door, who cares?
Check out a lead singer. Oh yeah, this music's catchy.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna stick in your head.
So like, and we did well, and again, we did well with musicians, because like when Patty and Matt Brocking are in your band, people are going to be impressed, right? Like, people are going to, like, musicians will be like, holy shit, like, how does this rock band have these 2 guys in this band? And that definitely helped us. But once we started writing the music for the second EP is when I think I really felt like things we started getting some more respect from people. We were a better band. I know I was a better performer. We were writing technically more difficult stuff that I think impressed the musicians more.
This is a year and a half in?
Yeah, maybe a little less than that before we went into the second EP, and like that's when I felt like things had really started to move. And by the time we got back and got the second EP back, it was like, okay, yeah, now like things are going. Like people like I would go to venues to go to a show,
local celebrity,
and people knew who I was.
That was the first thing you said to me when I went after our first show.
Yeah.
You walked over like, because everyone was like, oh.
Yeah,
like,
prepare
and
yourself.
Then you're like, dude, you're a local celebrity.
Because if you're,
I was like, nope.
if you're in a good band, especially if you're a front person in a good band, you never know when people will recognize you. And it's like, okay, this is kind of cool. Like, it's not even about celebrity. It's about like, especially recognition from other musicians. When you walk into a venue, and people are like, hey man, aren't you that guy from Enter Band Name? And I'll be like, yeah, I am. And they're like, oh, I listened to your EP. It's dope. I really like song X. I'm like, I've worked so hard for this. It's like,
Thank you.
It's like,
all I wanted was Adoration and praise.
Well,
all I wanted
was respect.
Now, where's
from
the money?
Respect from other musicians is like pretty cool. When 2 years before that,
so much.
I was like playing my Epiphone SG in my parents' house, and like didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah. And
like didn't know how intonation worked.
Your progression, it astonishes me. Like how fast. And the same thing with the recording.
I appreciate that.
Because we like when you were recording us, just talking with you about that, where was it Russell was through all this time the first band you guys recorded, or you recorded?
I think so. Kind of by
that's what.
Yeah, I think so.
I think he said that. Well, I know he said that, but I thought you had said that too.
I recorded. I forgot because I recorded.
You recorded him.
I did promo. I recorded a song with Russell for school.
Yeah.
Called "Thinking About a Jam," which is legendary. If you have a chance,
is it on YouTube or
it's on Russell's SoundCloud, and every once in a while, every like 6 months, one of the guys involved with it shares it. Okay. It was me. I recorded it. Wade played the guitar. Jeremy played the bass. Patty played the drums. Also recorded in the room next to my office. And Russell had written there's actually an old video of Russell playing that on an acoustic guitar in his house somewhere from like 7 or 8 years ago. And so I was like, Russell, I need a song for school. He shows up. He's the songwriter on you have to fill out these forms for school about like who the songwriter is, and like, okay, so this is the songwriter, and Russell shows up and we record it with like an acoustic and whatever. And then Wade came in and like did his interpretation of it, and the song slowly became this like almost like ska jam thing. But it was like, but then it like the chorus was like this like rock chorus, and then the verses were all this like almost reggae-ish thing, like upbeat thing. Yeah, exactly. And
there goes another day, just like the ones before.
It was wild. So I'd recorded that, and then I eventually recorded through all this time. The OG recording for me, though, was Promo's first EP.
Okay.
And I really hope they become a band again, simply so I can remix and re-release that EP, because I find it to be somewhat embarrassing now. Oh. Despite the fact that at the time I was so proud of it, and like I think they thought I would like really suck, and they just wanted anyone to record their stuff. And
so
then
it was
like
kind of demo-y.
Yeah. And so then when they came out, they were like, actually, man, we are so impressed. Like, we're so happy you did this. And I was like, okay, pat self on back. And we recorded the drums for that. That's another thing. I just got the final noise complaint. I got one legit noise complaint, and I could no longer record in my house.
Like drums?
Yeah. And
I know we were screaming. I know I've been screaming.
Oh, I'm sure my neighbors think I like murder cats in my house. Like, but we got a noise complaint for the drums. And I was like, Adam, I'm sorry, I can't record drums in my house. I don't know what to do. So we put together the world's most bootleg setup and recorded drums in Adam's house, Adam Bellflower's house, for that EP. And I think we recorded them in one weekend. And he has cats, and I'm like really allergic to cats.
Yeah.
And I was recording them. I didn't have a laptop at the time, so I recorded them on Adam's laptop in a different DAW that I'd never used before, and I only had 8 inputs. And then the way except their drummer played with 4 toms, so I needed more inputs. So I ended up. Adam had this giant digital mixing console that he somehow jerry-rigged to his laptop. So we used those inputs, and we had enough to cover the whole kit, and that became the Promo EP. And yeah, so that was like the first complete release I was a part of. Okay. And I think I came back. I don't want to mess this up, but I think I came back from graduation, the day I got back from, so the day Beth graduated from college. So I graduated one day, Beth graduated the next day. She graduates, I leave that. I'm still in like my clothes from being at her graduation, and I think I was at the Promo EP release that night.
Nice.
I think that's what the show was. And like Andy took this hilarious picture of me side stage where I look like really judgmental, and I'm like in my very formal clothes and everything. And but yeah, that was the that was the first. And now, of course, I look back at that and I'm like, God, that's embarrassing. And I actually want to talk to Sean. Like, if they're going to start playing out again, can I like remix that and like make it sound like I think we can make it sound, because it could be like different than it is. But some of the guitars on that were already recorded and had tones printed to them and like weren't edited well because like Adam had been recording it at his house, but I don't think he'd recorded them as final guitar tracks. But they were under such a time crunch
that they just did it.
That they were just like, here are some files. And then Adam sent me the drum files that we did at his house, and some of them were mislabeled. And it was like it was so complex, but I was so like dedicated. I was like, this is gonna work, damn it. So yeah, I've come a long way since then. Yeah, safe to say. Jeez. But yeah, so that's all the way up until graduation, leaving Kiss the Curse, and then I recorded Aragon, and the rest is history.
You know what? Who was? Let's just get this out of the way.
Sure.
Who was your most fun to record?
The most fun to record was probably actually Aragon.
Good, because I have a knife to your neck.
No, because I had a great time recording you guys. I think I really like. I mean, I like everyone in the band, and like I love David's sheer like passion for metal. Like the guy is just so genuine in everything he does.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to like be fake, and like I really enjoy that. And working with you is interesting because you had never recorded before.
I had never. Dude.
And like you didn't have your own like style. You were like kind of figuring it out as you went. And like that was actually fun to be a part of. And like I think we had a great time
because we hadn't played a live show yet.
No, you hadn't.
We played our first live show. I want to say after we finished the final recording.
It was like 2 weeks after we finished the finals.
Wow.
It might have been 2 weeks after you did. It was like less than a week after.
Jeez.
It was like a couple, like I think we finished the recordings.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple days to recover, and you know how fucked my vocals were
right.
at that point?
Right.
And like, so I had a couple days to recover, and then we went and played the first show.
Right, I was at that show. That's right. Yeah. No, but I really enjoyed recording you guys, and obviously like through all this time I'd known those guys for a long time, and recording Patty's always fun, and Russell is a trip, and so I think.
Okay, now you can tell your real.
I've just got good stories for a lot of bands, and no, but I enjoyed recording you guys. Recording David in particular is a lot of fun because he's like so excited to just to be there.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's
so much tea, so much honey.
That's right.
I went through. I had like the large like $8 container of honey.
Right.
From Food Lion that I went through an entire thing while we were recording because it'd be like we'd go do a couple parts, go make some more tea. I had absolutely. Your water bill had to be.
I didn't check, but I'm sure it was outrageous. No, I believe that. We used to give Elise shit about the same thing because she would get her like her local honey, organic local honey and stuff, and like it was like really hard to find and expensive, and like she had to have it in order to sing, and like, but that's a real thing. People really lean on that for sure.
I think the hardest part for recording wasn't playing like the bass parts. It was just I didn't have the right gauge strings, and whenever there'd be like a holdout, you'd like, be still. Do it again.
And we couldn't get a ring out that wasn't like slapping the frets like 20 minutes into the ring out. So it's like you couldn't even like a little bit early on is fine, but we'd hit it and it would be like it really would like we'd get all this like crazy fret noise later on. That was
And now that I've like recorded with you, I'm so conscious about like string noise. I'm like, all right, I need to learn how to play this and not have like clunk 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 in the background because that's how Edward would do it.
Well, you can also. Well, it depends on your depends on your genre. Never do. What would Edward do is a bad way to live your life.
Hair? I don't know.
Stop it. Stop it.
I couldn't match up, so I just buzzed it all off.
Is that why?
That's what it was. Too intimidated. I saw you at Clayton Beverage. I was like, fuck, I can't do it.
Yeah, I got actually at that. I don't know if it was that Clayton Beverage show or an earlier one, but I went and Patty. I got out of my car, and he was like. Oh yeah, man! You have the what's that actor's name? He was an American Sniper. He's like, you got the Bradley Cooper look going, and I was like, Sure, I'll take it. Why not?
That's a compliment.
And I was more like, I feel like Captain America post Civil War at this point. I was super rough when I got home. I was like huge beard and like all of his hair, and I hadn't gotten a haircut yet. It was bad. But
so what are you up to now with music?
I'm just writing some stuff. I was gonna do an EP of just my own stuff, and
what genre, style? What do you
figure it out when it gets there?
Yeah.
Patty and I have been working on music together. We did a song with Anthony from or formerly of Moto Grader, and now he's in Cultist Black. And
is that what you posted on Instagram a few weeks ago?
No, that's the song I did with Anthony is called Radiant. It's already on YouTube and stuff. And I did the song with the guys from Fear of the Indifference. And I think now we're working on Mind Demons. All of this stuff comes from books, by the way. It's all from like all book references. But I got home and I was like, you know what? Why not just like I'm not in a band. I'm single. Got all this free time.
Suddenly,
like I'm not recording anyone right now. Why not just like record my own stuff? And Patty and I had been working together and doing this kind of side thing for ages anyway. So like, why not just like put it all together and put something out there? And so part of the deal for me is going to be like, I have like this whole like concept in my head of how I want this to work, and it's not even like trying to do it professionally anymore. It's just about like doing stuff that I want to do because I want to do it. And so I've gotten like a couple of songs mostly written. I've got a third one I'm working on, and they're all sort of like in process. There's actually a song I told you about that I want to do with you and Justin probably. And then I want to find like a main vocalist for the rest of the EP probably.
A good one.
And someone that doesn't exclusively scream is what I was thinking. And like I'm looking at, there's actually at least one female vocalist I'm thinking about talking to.
I'm assuming a heavy song then. I'm assuming it's kind of heavy.
The song I'm thinking about for you guys, yeah. I mean, the song is tentatively called All Male Code Green in reference to a code at hospitals I've been to a few times, where they like code green is like a violent or dangerous person in the hospital. Often it's like in psych wards they'll call all male code greens for like juvenile guys who aren't cooperating, and it really means like they need all the male employees on the floor just in case this guy gets out of hand. And anyway, I thought that'd be a fun name for a song for two guys who have worked in hospitals. And I thought you guys would appreciate that. I think Justin has his own all-male code green by himself. The guy's 6'4". Yeah, it's exactly two of you. Legitimately two of you. And
I'm not big, but I'm not small.
No, he's just a giant. Fear the Indifference is like an offensive line. Like he and Malcolm are,
right?
That doesn't even make sense. But yeah, so
you got Ryan.
And then Ryan.
And then other Ryan.
Well, what's funny is Marcus is like not a small person, but in that band he looks so tiny. Because like both Ryans are taller than I am, and they're like skinny, but they're taller than I am. And like I'm not a small person either. No. And then Marcus is like an average sized human being, but he looks so small. But yeah, so that's a song that's in the future, and I've got a kind of a concept for how I want the thing to fit together, and I'm going to write some lyrics on it, which I have not done before in my own stuff. And there are some vocalists out there who don't know that I'm checking them out currently, because I'm checking them out on the internet and like asking people about them, and then I'm going to worry about convincing them to do it later, because I'll just like I feel
like that shouldn't be difficult.
Well, I'm going to make my demos sound as good as they can, and sometimes people are weird, man. Like there have been again, I'm not going to name names, but there have been a couple of bands who it's like when I was in Kiss the Curse, we were in full swing, we were doing a lot of cool stuff, and we wanted to play a show with this one band in particular.
Who?
They're not local anymore.
Oh.
And they have moved on with their lives,
really
and they seemed like perfectly nice people. We loved their music. The production value was great. I went to a show basically to convince these people to like come play a show with us. Just talk, like we're not crazy people. Like just talk to them. The singer wouldn't speak to me.
What?
And apparently other people have had this experience with them. And that happens, similar stuff happened like that a few times, where it's like you don't know if people are just like...
I think people are just weird.
People might just be weird. People might have a problem with me. People might have a problem with someone else in the band that we don't even know about. And you just have to kind of be like, whatever, move on. And that's kind of like, I guess I'm internally preparing myself for like some band, some singer I walk up to and ask, being like, oh no, I heard you said this about my old band once 3 years ago, or some nonsense. And like, so I'm kind of internally preparing myself. I really have to stop talking shit on this podcast. I've avoided naming any names. Yeah, so that's the plan in the near term, is to do that. Hopefully Promo starts playing shows and I can remix that album. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I think they are. I mean, I think they started practicing again.
Yeah, I saw online they started practicing again, and I don't. I kind of want to like.
Gotta get them on the podcast.
Yeah, gotta get them on the Promo. Okay. Sean Sims would be great on this podcast. Yeah, just see how the EP goes, and maybe put a lineup together and like play the EP at like one show. I think that would be fun. Like play Clayton Beverage.
Yeah.
Just like play one show at like the Maywood or Clayton Beverage.
Everyone just shows up and like hops up to do their vocal parts, and then.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is you can have like your guest vocal. You only need the guest vocalist the one time, then, and then like have your main.
Yeah.
Sing the rest of the show, and like, but there, there's some stuff that's pretty heavy. There's some stuff that I can play it for you post podcast if you would like. There's some stuff that's like very Kiss the Curse-ish. It's actually in some ways a lot less technical. There's a lot less dweedly lead stuff. There is one song that I started writing when I was in Kiss the Curse. No, there are two songs I started writing for Kiss the Curse while in Kiss the Curse. One didn't make any sense. It's a KTC song. I'm glad we didn't use it. The other one, we just never went anywhere with it. And one of those actually involves, like, it was when I was in Full Swing. I wanted to be Lee McKinney from Born of Osiris, and the whole song is literally me sweep picking. I sweep pick from the first note to the last note of the song, and it is the worst decision I have ever made. And so then of course I was like practicing for like a few hours a day at the time, and now I like just don't have time for that. Yeah. I'm not as motivated to do that all the time. So yeah, that is the current state of my musical endeavors, and I've been helping out like Wade's band, recording some like demo stuff for them, because like there's a lot of work to do on that, and I don't think Wade has enough time.
Do I know his new band?
Cultist Black.
Oh, okay.
It's Anthony from Motor Grader. It's his new band, and their stuff is really heavy, over the top. Like
that doesn't surprise me.
It's like all on sevens. They're playing some of their stuff with a low string, where it's like it's Meshuggah tuning, so it's like a 7-string, but the lowest string is an F.
Jesus.
Yeah, and that stuff is like you have to have the right scale length guitar for that, and the right gauges, because that stuff gets...
In your ears. You said gauges.
Oh yes, in your ears. You have to have the right size gauges in your ears, or you actually physically can't produce music.
It really affects the tone.
It does, absolutely. It's a resonance.
Yeah.
Damn it! Yes, it's a resonance thing.
Arpeggio.
I remember that too. Yeah, that was great. Like, Edward, you're just saying words. Like, I don't know what this means. Yeah, no. Geez. But yeah, that's pretty much all I'm doing now, and thinking about going back to school. So, yeah.
Do you want to lock the door?
Unlock the door.
Yeah, Nick is here.
Oh. No, I've not met Nick. I've not met Nick before.
Ooh, you get to meet Nick on the podcast.
Excellent.
Anything new? Anything else new? Are you gonna start recording again? What's that going?
I might do like stuff casually just for fun. Right now I've got kind of a lot of like moving parts, because like if I'm going back, I don't know when that starts and how intensely I'll do that, and also like I really want to finish the original stuff.
The EP, yeah.
And like I don't want to like take on a project and half-ass it, or take on a project in which I hadn't.
I don't
really know how to. I don't know how to half-ass.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. You're not the type of person. I mean, I know, like how much time you put in our EP.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, me too.
thanks. Editing those harmonies.
It was a joy to do. It was great.
Try to teach me how to hit a note. You just pull out your guitar tuner, your tuner on your phone, hand it to me, and you're like, okay. You're like C G. Just hit those notes. Find it on. Hit them. You're like, all right, we're good.
Yeah, I mean that's
like,
whatever you have to
enough.
do though. Whatever you have to do though, man. As long as you can tune it afterwards. So. Just have to get close enough every time. But
no, but I don't. Yeah, you're not the type of person to half-ass anything.
Yeah, I've tried to avoid that. I think.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing is like trying to figure out like, okay, I want the EP. I want to do that. Going back to school, like build everything around that now, because like I'm just afraid of getting myself into like other stuff committed, and then like all the stuff that I have moving. Like once everything settles down a little bit, I might take something on just to like get back into it, do it for fun.
Do you want to do a band again, or?
Not in the immediate future. I think that's a lot of again, part of the issue is I don't like doing things halfway, so it's like if I'm going to do that, I really want to do it, and I don't think that's like a reasonable expectation right now. So yeah, probably not in the immediate future. Once things settle down some, I kind of know what my schedule is going to be, then like sure, let's like see what happens, but that's not in the, again, I think the most likely thing is that I'll end up doing the EP. I'll play, like, put a lineup together, convince Wade to play a show, pretty much. Wade wants to play a show. Yeah. Wade, come learn this music and play a show. Play, like, a show, which will be logistically really complicated. Do it at probably Clayton or the Maywood, and then just, like, go back to school. And, like, play guitar and make music for fun. And at some point, I'm sure I'll be recording people again in the future, but not in the short term. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Oh yeah, buddy. What time we heading out?
7 o'clock.
Shit. Anything else you want to talk about?
How I just spilled water on your ottoman.
I mean, it's on mine. I don't give a shit.
It's okay. I got it. Slowly eats chicken.
All right.
Watching you, buddy.
What's your craziest show story?
My craziest? I'm not going to remember any of them now that you're asking me. God, I wish I had had time to think about
I got a better one. I meant to ask Russell this, but
right.
I forgot. Do you have a superstition? Are you superstitious?
I don't think so. What do you mean?
Do you have something like every time you have a show, you're like, oh, I gotta.
Oh, bro. So that's actually a good one. Only because like I started. So there are a couple of things. These aren't even superstitions so much as they're like practical. But I'm me, so they're like ridiculous. But like, I don't know if you guys noticed, I played with that like sleeve on my arm, on my right arm, and like people would always ask me like, oh, do you have like an elbow problem? I'm like, no. But when I started playing guitar, I used to like not use my wrist really. It was like a lot of like arm stuff.
Yeah.
So what would happen was, this is like when I was, first starting to learn, is that I would like be propped up in some weird way on a chair, and I would actually like rub my arm like
just
raw.
Chafe it.
On the guitar body from playing so much and not having any technique. So like I started wearing something. It was originally just like this like sweatband thing here, and then I got the sleeve when I started the band. I actually have a sleeve that's a fake tattoo of like this panda eating bamboo, and I wore it to practice just to fuck with Matt Brocking because he has like legit tattoo sleeves.
He's got sleeves.
And like I wore that to practice a few times and threatened to wear it on stage, and Elise I think Elise would have murdered me in my sleep if I had done that, but yeah, so that's one thing. I wore that for ages, and then the other thing is just warming up before shows. Is that like, this is actually a running joke with me and Jeremy. The joke is that I'm actually like cursed. Is that like something cursed me once, and every morning I'm gifted with the ability to learn guitar quickly, but cursed with the fact that every night I forget how to play guitar completely. So I have to relearn how to play guitar every day, and it's like, so I have to warm up before show. What's actually happening when I'm warming up is I'm relearning how to play guitar every day.
Songs, yeah.
So just like from the ground up. So I would legitimately like show up at a venue and like be at the back with my little like headphone amp in, playing for like 3 hours before the show, just because I was so. And at first, that started from just being so incredibly nervous about screwing up. I was like, yeah, the next 3 hours, I'm gonna make sure I don't make a mistake. For somehow that's gonna work out, and that turned into something that I did like every single show. And like now that I'm not playing out anymore, like people will still ask me about that, like. Savannah,
that's a pretty good practice far as like...
It is a good practice, but it also made me look like a real jackass because it looked like I was like, not talking to anyone, and including my own bandmates. Yeah. And
everyone's like, nah, he's just a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, he's just a weirdo. He's just strange. Don't worry about him. And there's actually a great Instagram post that we did about how making fun of that, because like it was everyone else was warming up on their instruments, and they're like, Edward warms up in his own special way, and it was me just like dancing by myself in the field. And there's look up the old KTC Instagram. It's great. Yeah, I don't know if I have any real superstitions. Those are like pre-show or show necessary things though, that are certain. You know, the sleeve is not unique to me. I guess neither is warming up, but probably warming up for as long as I did, and is like in an extreme isolation. I was known to like go to my car and like close myself in my car and warm up in my car just so I'd be left alone.
It's like having a guitar in your car, like trying to play in your car.
Yeah, I'd get in the back seat of my minivan, like trying to like, it was an experience. But I don't know if I have any other. I feel like I have a million show stories and I'm forgetting all of them. We opened for Puddle of Mud. That's a good one. We opened for Puddle of Mud, and he was like legitimately 2 hours late. Wes was for the show, and like it was just like that whole show was just bizarre, because like there was like a 2 hour long gap in the show, and then
they didn't just like, hey, just like push it back.
What's funny is like the other people were playing. He said he was going to be there. He says he's going to be there. We go up, play. The other bands go up and play. He just doesn't show up. He says he's on his way. Oh, he's at the airport. Oh, he's here. Oh, he's there. And like it was really unclear what was going on. And then at one point, Johnny Nethercutt was joking. He was the guy that booked it. Was joking about just putting us back up there. Yeah. And like I was waiting for it. I was like, man, just put us back on stage. We have more songs. We'll just make something up if you want us to.
That also looks great on your part.
Yeah.
That looks amazing.
We're ready to go.
Be a local band that's like, no, we got this.
Yeah, we'll go play another 40 minutes until Wes Gatling gets here. Yeah, that was pretty nuts.
He finally shows up. Look who finally showed up.
Yeah.
He's like, she fucking hates me.
She fucking hates me. Yeah, I feel like I have all of these like nuts stories. I can't remember any of them, unfortunately. We played an outdoor show in Pennsylvania, in Katanning. I think it's called Katanning, Pennsylvania. And I think the band played it twice. The second time they played it, I wasn't in the band anymore. First time they played it, we played it. We drove there. We played a bar show the night before, and there was supposed to be this big outdoor festival, and it was like a local festival, and we were like playing last. I think we were playing pretty late, but the weather didn't cooperate. So what ended up happening was there would be like rain, light rain, and it would stop, and then people would play, and it'd be light rain, and people would play, and it was like on and off all day, and like it was on like a legit farm, and like on this like stage they'd constructed. It was really nice and it was covered, and then we go up to play, and it's like way later than it's supposed to be, and a lot of people have left, and then it just like turns into a monsoon. And like the cover to the stage isn't a solid piece of anything. It's like some sort of like plastic, so it starts like sagging down, and like the wind is such that like Patty is dry on his drum riser, but the rest of our shit is just getting soaked. Oh, and like I literally like poured water out of my foot controller afterwards. And our stuff at the back of the stage was all right, but like we're up there playing, and it got to the point where
no one's there at that point. Like,
well, there were people. The funny part is there were people at like a tent, way back there, who were like watching, and I'm like glad they were there. And like people bought merch from us too. Was the funny part. I was like, man, you couldn't tell what the hell was going on. Stop it.
And I mean, you guys went up and played during that. I'm like, yeah,
well,
I'll buy.
We went up and played, and then during the last song, I think at some point, the PA got wet, and the board got wet and went out. So it was just stage volume eventually, and then it came back on, I think. But Elise, during the breakdown of our last song, Elise, Wade, and Jeremy, I think all three of them got off stage, and we're like, there were some people who came to the front of the stage late in the show. And we're like, I'm sure wasted out of their minds. Yeah. And we're like sort of pitting, I guess. And so Elise, Wade, and I think Jeremy went down there too. And we're like running around with them during the breakdown of that last song. And I was like up there with Patty, like, nah, dude. Nah. I'm like standing on the drum riser trying not to get wet. Like, no way, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And just like the trip up there was really interesting, and we stayed in like a guy's house. And I woke up. God, there's a guy named DJ who I'm still friends with on Facebook from that trip, and they call him AD DJ. And he, the first night I woke up there, we slept in the basement at this guy's house. The guy like invited us to come play the show, and I wake up, come upstairs, like legitimately like. Walk around the kitchen, walk around the main level, like have a conversation with someone, walk back through the kitchen before I noticed the person passed out under the kitchen table. I was like, what is going on? And it was DJ, and he was passed out under the table. And the guy is just like incredibly memorable because he's just like, I mean, they call him AD DJ. He's like nonstop high energy. Bro, let's get wasted. Let's go to the show. It's going to be great. And he's definitely like a decade and a half older than I am. And I'm not talking about someone your age. He's definitely like 40, 45. Like he has no business.
My age, I'm done.
Yeah, I mean like, but the guy is just nonstop. And every time someone would be like, oh, we'd be like, where is that? They'd be like, oh, it's a little ways that way. And what we learned was, anytime someone in Pennsylvania says it's like, oh, it's just over there, they mean like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Because like it's just rural Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Like you're not like, this is not like Philly. You're in the middle of it's like rolling hills and cows, and like they're like, oh, it's just over there past the Walmart. I mean, get in the car, punch in where Walmart is on our GPS, and it's 45 minutes away. And I'm like, what do you mean just over there? Like, no, like where do we buy beer? And they're like, you have to go to this like thing, this like special warehouse thing to buy beer. And I was like,
yeah, Pennsylvania's.
I grew up in New Jersey. I do not remember that. I guess I was too young to remember that.
Well, no, it's like Iowa, you can buy liquor in Walmart.
Really?
Yeah, there is no.
See, that explains Slipknot.
There are no rules in the Midwest. There's no rules for that.
Sounds great.
No, we went. My brother got married in Pennsylvania, and one of my brothers, and he.
Oh, that's right. You have like a million siblings.
5 brothers.
That's right.
No, my brothers were going to get beer, so they walked like a mile to Walmart, to the nearest Walmart, and they're like. Walking on the store, like, dude, and they walk up to someone like, where's your beer? They're like, I don't know, vodka beer. Like, where's your alcohol?
Right.
They're like, we don't sell alcohol here. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, what? They were gone for like 5 hours or something like that just to get beer. Like, keep in mind, this is my brother's, like, wedding, so it's all of his party. Someone from one of his friends in the party went and picked them up at this random Walmart in Pennsylvania, drove across the border into Ohio to get beer, and then drove back.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, I didn't understand the laws surrounding that. None of us did. So the guys wanted beer, and it was this whole there's legitimately this warehouse structure where they house the beer. It's like, what is going on? But yeah, that was ask Jeremy and Wade and Patty and them about the tanning trips, because the Pennsylvania trips, because those were, I think the other one was the second one. Oh, that's also the first time I got offered cocaine. So we're done with the show, right? they're literally like trying to use a broom to like poke the water out of the roof of the stage. And we're on stage, we're all like exhausted and soaked, and I'm sitting there. I think Jeremy and Patty were there, and Jeremy loves telling the story because like apparently I like was completely flabbergasted because the guy walks up and goes, "Hey, do any of you guys want some blow?"
Your reaction, like almost so innocent.
I think that's kind of what it was, and then I was like, no, thank you. And and Jeremy ask Jeremy this story because he tells it. He oh my God, he lost it. He loves telling that story because I just did not see it coming, and I was like, I don't know how to turn down cocaine. My bad, man. But that was fun there too. Got to turn down some drugs.
I had someone offer me. Keep in mind, I'm in high school at this point at a concert. Had someone offer me something in a pipe, something in a glass pipe.
Yeah.
I didn't smoke it because he fell down in the pits. He was fucked up. He fell to his like really hot day, middle of Iowa. It's like 99% humidity.
Okay.
So like he falls down in the pits, and I see him. I just like swoop him up and like drag him out, like pick him up, drag him out because you know it's nice.
Nice thing to do.
It's a nice thing to do. He's like, dude, oh my gosh, thank you. And I was like, yeah, no problem, man. And like I'm going to watch like Shinedown because they're actually playing this show.
Okay,
and
sure,
surprisingly heavy. Surprisingly,
I believe
there's
that.
so many mosh pits at that.
I believe that.
But he's like, dude, look what I snuck in. He reaches in his pocket, pulls out a glass pipe, and I'm like, no, thank you, and just like, it's like, no, thank you.
Like walk away as fast as possible. Yeah. It's like when you really don't know how to handle the situation. Like, yeah, I get that completely.
So did you guys tour?
We did like really brief, like we did stuff where we'd drive to Florida and play a show and like play 2 shows or the thing in Pennsylvania where we
like
played 2 shows.
Weekends, or?
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. That's about it. We never like booked a week. I think the biggest issue is that once we recorded the second EP, we like none of us could take time away.
You had to work, yeah.
We had school and jobs and
that's the time too.
Yeah. And we also didn't have any money left. Yeah. Like legitimately. Like I didn't get people Christmas gifts. I was like, sorry guys, I have no
one gets Christmas gifts.
There's no cash, like no cash, and so that was trying to do like extended touring was not realistic. Super jealous of like what Reason to Find's getting to do now, they're like that's like properly supporting. Thank you for properly supporting the album I recorded. You know, it's like so that's nice and. So that's one thing I wish we had done more of. I wish we had hired a publicist at one point to help promote the, like we had this.
Running because you guys had a manager.
We had a manager early on. We didn't by the time we recorded the second EP.
Who was
Michael Harris? He's a booking.
That sounds really.
He books local shows.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was a photographer, and then he met Elise in her old band. And started booking shows and was like, hey, I'll manage you. And he was the guy who like got us on shows.
Yeah.
And especially early on, he got us on a ton of shows. Now, again, a lot of those shows were like, I felt like we were sort of treading water, but at the same time, like we needed the experience.
What kind of like costs?
Oh, he didn't charge us anything because what ended up happening was he really wanted to manage Elise's band.
Oh, okay.
Because it was like before she was in another band when he kind of found her, and he really wanted to manage her band.
And
it would, and it would help her. It would help him like get in places, and I think it did. I think they both we all benefited from that arrangement. And he would, but he would he got us on that a show of Suicide Silence. We opened for Suicide Silence once. And it was
that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense, but we did really well that night.
That's crazy.
We did really well. My Beth, that was the night that Beth brought a bunch of her friends from school. And they're all these cute, well-dressed, we're going to going out to a bar, college girls from Chapel Hill that listen to The Weeknd. and they come
Oh my
and they
gosh,
walk
I
in.
just imagine them in like shorter,
in dresses, in like mini dresses and like heels, and they walk in and they're like, "Where's Edward?" And Beth's like, "That's him on stage." And they're like, they had known me in like lavender button downs,
Immediately like, oh,
and I'm like in my like black hooded thing, and like we're up there doing our thing, and then like we get off stage and it's all these heavy bands culminating in Suicide Silence.
Yeah. Oh,
and I don't think these girls had ever seen. There's this one.
Live life hard, bro.
Yeah, exactly. There's a song there, that song "Fuck Everything," right?
Yeah.
And Beth's friend Siamari, this girl from New York. I think she's Dominican, and she's like, being from New York, she's like more my people in a lot of ways. And she'd never heard this band before, but they start that song and she's up there going, "Fuck everything, fuck everything." And all the rest of the girls are like, "What is happening right now?"
Yeah.
And
power of music.
yeah, it was great. That was a lot. That one was a lot of fun. And Elise, taking care of Elise later. Elise had a little too much to drink. I'm throwing Elise firmly under the bus with that one. And my cousin came from out of town that time. But Michael Harris got us on that show.
Because I was, you said that. I was thinking about that. I'm like, because there's only so much, I'm reading a book right now called The War of Art.
Okay.
It's a really good book.
Cool.
It's short. It's like 180 pages, 181, something like that. But it's all like it's almost like each page is like a different topic. They're all like, it's all on the same topic, but each page, like, it's like a different line. So it's like, a professional is this.
Okay.
Professional is this. And it talks a lot about, because he's a screenwriter, or I mean, obviously he writes books, but I think he's more of like a screenwriter type thing. And it's just talking about like being a professional, what it takes to be a professional.
Sure.
And like different aspects. One of them talks about Tiger Woods, and he's the idea that like you will never know everything. You are not the best at everything. You are the best. You are professional at what you do.
Right.
Whether that's writing, whether it's music, like that's what you are the professional at.
Sure.
You're not the professional at being a manager.
Right.
So like there is a level, like obviously, when you're just a small time local band, you can't afford to pay for a manager because you're barely getting by.
Yeah.
As it is.
Yeah.
You're just funneling money into your band and not getting the returns. But obviously there's that, but there's that level. But there's a point that you reach where if you do want to go to the next level, you have to seek outside help.
Absolutely.
So I was thinking about that when you said having a manager.
Yeah.
Sounds like he did a lot of good work for you.
Yeah, he did. I mean, especially early on, I think none of us had enough experience, with the exception of maybe Elise, and he did a lot of the legwork of like just getting us on shows, because he was booking shows. So he would just like tack us onto these shows.
Yeah.
And like,
if you can have something like that in your corner, like,
yeah,
and it's just so freeing from like, just from what I know, where like I was the one, like I'm trying to set up so many shows,
right,
and just trying to like, I just gotta get good shows, and then you're on top of it, you're like, shit, I gotta handle the, like Facebook, and then like at some point you gotta write music.
Well, that was my thing. It was like when I was in the band, it's like everyone has to wear multiple hats.
Yes,
it's like
totally,
you're running this business where everyone has to.
Yeah.
You want everyone to be involved with the music, and you want everyone to be at every practice and every show and be early and be professional. But like, also you really need someone to do graphic design, and also you really need someone to book shows, and also you really, like
someone's got to do your social media.
Someone has to do all the social
Russell
media.
Hates it.
Yeah,
someone's got to do
exactly,
social media.
Exactly, and like I ran the Instagram, Wade did the Twitter, like. Someone has to answer all those messages from people who want merch or people who want to put you on a show.
Someone's got to do merch.
Someone's got to do merch, and like having a band where everyone wears two hats. Like, okay, I'll be and especially for us, like early on, I was the audio guy, right? We're demoing everything into Pro Tools at my house.
It's a big.
And that's one of those things where if you have that guy in your band, it makes your life a lot easier. And the better he is, the better your final product down the road might be. Because like right now, I could record,
or just how much faster you can produce it.
Exactly, because like you can do what we did. You can, I have this idea, send it out to everyone, send it to the drummer with the program drums muted in the click track, and he can go practice to it. We all show up. We all already know the song, and we just play the damn song.
You're not wasting like 3 practices trying to get to somewhere that you could have got to in like, one day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's having someone that wears that hat is super, and it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter which member of the band it is, what instrument they play. It's super valuable. And
or if you just know someone, like if you just have a good friend that just like wants some experience,
right?
Like,
right.
Take advantage. It's the concept of like, you don't know everything. You don't have to. Absolutely. You make friends with the people that can help you.
Well, it's like it's in school they used to talk about it's not DIY, it's not do it yourself, it's do it ourselves, and like you can have this like network of peers that you can work with to, at relatively low cost, get you where you need to go. And like obviously like graphic design, like I know graphic designers I trust and know what they're doing. Like they're 2 in Reason to Find. 2 of those girls are graphic designers.
Oh really?
One of them works professionally, one's in college. And then like I know Andy and like for photography and graphic design stuff and like
I'm one of those people.
Make
me a logo.
Yeah, there you go.
One of those people that knows Edwards.
Yeah.
Edwards.
Any of those people, please make Tanner a logo.
Edward approved of the logo that I made in 5 minutes.
I mean, it's better than anything I would make, so I approve completely. But yeah, and like having someone that does like. I think Elise made our first website. Like she's a computer person. She just made it. Something like making flyers for shows. Sometimes if you're booking them yourself, that's a skill people develop over time. I have no concept of how to do that. Like, and for me, it was almost like I had to try to contain, because you kind of want, there are times when you want to do everything, and then you're like, I haven't written anything. I need to write music for this band.
It's also just trust too.
Yeah.
I think trust is big. Like I know that's. For me, I'm very like where you're saying like you want to do it completely and everything.
Yeah,
like, I'm very much like, for as different personalities, we have that same concept of like, I'm not gonna half-ass it.
Right.
It's that same thing where I'm like, oh, if it like I want to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
Because like that's also a big thing with me too. Is like I want to learn it.
Yeah, I want to learn how to do stuff. It's fun. Yeah.
So like. Yeah, having the trust to be able to be like, no, like if you're in a band together, you should trust each other. Yeah. So like, I trust you to do this.
Right.
Like I think that's a big
part of it is like, okay, I'm not going to do this thing perfectly, right? I'm not going to do it perfectly the first time. So and so isn't going to do their portion perfectly. They're not going to do it perfectly the first time, probably the second time, or ever. That's okay. Like do the best we can. Split up the kind of workload and make sure you're all working in the same direction. Like have a plan, and that's good band fundamentals that I definitely did not have at first, and like we definitely developed over time, but it took a minute.
All right, buddy.
It's that time.
You want to promote anything?
Do I want to promote anything? Oh geez. So many things. I'm not working on anything right now, so there's nothing actually specific that I want to promote. But go listen to Aragon. What's your new band?
So far,
does it have a name?
It's like so far what we've got is Heartbeat of October.
Okay. What's your new band?
My new band is Still Searching.
Still Searching.
You can find us on all the social medias at Still Searching NC.
And listen to Through All This Time, and look up the old promo EP on Spotify. And
what was the one song? Russell's song?
Thinking About a Jam. If you can find Thinking About a Jam on Facebook somewhere, it's out there. And listen to the new Reason to Find album, because
seriously,
that's all stuff I've worked on, and
that shit is.
It's banging. It smacks.
I was blown away by that.
We need to get into something. We need to get somewhere with a sound system so I can play some of their new stuff.
Oh yeah.
You can get a preview, because they're.
You're saying right now?
Yeah, as long as it's not recorded on your podcast.
Oh, okay. Oh, they have new stuff?
They have an album all mixed. It's on my phone. I just can't. It's just not released yet.
It hasn't been released yet. I thought it. Okay.
Only those two songs are out.
Ruffalo shit, dog.
I'm just trying to get views, bitch.
No. But yeah, no, we should. I'll show you guys that stuff.
Oh yeah.
The Avengers on Instagram.
Oh yeah, buddy. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's
Love
an
to
honor.
Have you again if you want.
When you're anytime. When you're on episode 2000 and you have your own fancy studio to record these. Yeah, just remember it all started with Russell and not me. So.
Okay. Yeah, we'll forget.
God, who was episode 2? God, I can't remember.
Yeah. If anyone else wants to hop on the Broccoli and Breakdowns podcast, come hit me up at all social medias or something.
Great.